Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to nowhere in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
I'm the podcaster, Mr. Tresnell.
Alliance Assemble. Volume 143, and he has finally come back.
Who's this guy?
Finally.
I don't even recognize him anymore.
I don't know this man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for this man.
You know, and I never wanted to be like that. People that listen to Geek First say, no, that for a while there's Tuesday newscasts and I weren't on it for a while because that was the days I couldn't do anything. And then in my life it shifted to like Thursday. And every time it was like dance recital, this, and I was always like trying to stay on once a month because you know why? I guarantee you there's enough listeners where now when I come on, they're like, who's this guy? They have no idea that I was here at the very beginning. Because I've had shows like that before. It's like, oh, this is original member, original host. You're like, okay, sure. But like, give me the other two, you know, and I'm that guy now. I'm the guy who's like, oh, I don't even know him. But it's very good to be back. I always plan to try and be here, but the past 2 months have been crazy. Hopefully this next little bit is going to settle down. But I'm excited to be here because you guys got some good topics. Ones I haven't done, and then one, obviously, I feel like the All in the Game one's been built up over 2 weeks. It's like a mini event question. And I'm here, and I'm excited to be back, and I'm excited to be casting with you two gentlemen again in the interweb flesh.
Yes. Well,
the interweb flash. That's a different website, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, really. We're not talking about that. That's the post credit scene.
I got to trademark that because someone's going to take them. Be like, I got a good idea. So.
Well, how's your both weeks been? I can already know Brent and I are feeling a lot better about our weeks.
Winter break, man. Winter break.
You guys are already done?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been done
Tuesday.
Wednesday. Yeah.
The kids are done here, but I'm not done. I got one more day and then I get 11 days off. So it's been, I think, the slowest week in some time of work. It's been fine. Work's been like I'm happy with the work. It just felt like it's going in slow motion mode, but I'm very excited for one more day and then some time off. Christmas dinner with family, catch up on some movies, try to catch up on some shows, some comic books, so pretty much, and it's freezing here. If people don't know, in Canada, it's fucking freezing where I'm living. So it's just completely stay inside weather right now. So
It's going to be 11 degrees tomorrow here in North Carolina.
It's right now outside my house. It's -5. I don't know what the wind chill is, but the actual temperature is -5. So that's just stupid.
negative 28 right now here.
I mean, you win, Canada. What?
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
You are farther north, so
This weather was described as an ice bomb. That can't be good. It said this week can prepare for an ice bomb. I don't know what. And frozen rain, which just means icicles from the sky.
So Frank Castle is running this basically.
Pretty much, and I'm in big fear. You know, so.
Oh God. Well, we've definitely got a heck of a main topic tonight, so let us get started as we've got a nice little group conversation in the chat right now. So everyone, welcome. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 8 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUAPod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers. We've got our $1 tiers, our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job? And then we've got our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows, including our show, We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance Rewatch. And Brent, you know, for our international, our Canadian viewers, we've got a Boxing Day drop ready for them.
That's right. Guardians 2 is ready to go. It's in the can. It's scheduled to drop, so check that out on, what is that, Monday? Monday morning?
Yep, Monday.
Wait, do you guys not get Boxing Day?
I mean, the calendar says it's Boxing Day, but that's
Yep.
not really an American thing.
Really? I thought all the time I see like crazy videos of shoppers going nuts over there on Boxing Day and stuff.
That's
It's
because
mainly a big return day.
Right, and every single holiday is an excuse to go shopping, at least in our country. So, I mean, yes, I'm sure there are places that have Boxing Day sales, but it's just, you know, it's a Black Friday sale, Cyber Monday sale, a Christmas sale, Boxing Day sale, New Year's sale. Like, it's just another excuse to have a sale.
Well, there you go. That's good because I know when I did all my Box Day shopping, I always would just load it with podcasts and go. Even though this last week when I did, whatever, S-Bubs. Even though this last week when I finished my Xmas shopping, I'm like, you know what? Next year I'm going to completely plan. I don't want to go in the stores at all. I want to buy everything online. I'm done. I'm done with going to the stores. I just want to be a hermit inside.
Done it for years. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you want to be a part of that and enjoy all the great content we've got going on Patreon, you can go to www.patreon.com/GUA Network and to be part of our Patreon. We want to thank our patrons. We cannot do this without your support. And last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, for your omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPB have got it going on with immaculate packaging, excellent customer service, ships around the world, and they've got these lovely Marvel Omnis and collected editions for an extra 20% off going on right now. So check those out. Some great stuff going on. And use that code MARVELGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order. And as always, we want to thank them for being our official sponsor. All right, gentlemen. Phase 4 has been officially completed. So we've promised this. We've talked about it. So we are going to tonight break down our Phase 4 rankings, starting at the bottom all the way to our number 1. So, I guess we'll give everyone a little bit of commentary if we don't have anything additional to say. But Travis, you are our guest at that point. So what is your at the bottom of your Phase 4?
Well, I feel like this is not going to shock anybody unless you're one of these new people that go, hey, I don't know who this guy is. I have to put Eternals there because Eternals is, big surprise, is my lowest rated MCU property overall. Phase 4, Phase Infinity, whenever I die, I'm going to be on my deathbed go, oh, Eternals. I hope, because I want every movie to be better than Eternals. I don't think it's a bad movie, just I wasn't the biggest fan of it. And I thought there were some missteps with some things along the way, character and story choices. But yeah, number 18. I've watched it twice and that's it. Even like people that bag on Thor: Dark World, Iron Man 2, I've watched those movies many times. Eternals, I just don't really have the itch to go back to watch it once in the theaters, watch with Emily when she hasn't seen it, and I think that's kind of it for me. Like, it's kind of one of those movies that even when 2 comes out, maybe that's when I'll do it, but I'm not like driven to be like, I should put it on. So Eternals dead last at 18 for me.
Brent, what is your number 18?
Well, it is not Eternals, I'll tell you that. My number 18 is actually I Am Groot. I actually really like this. I think it's fun. I think it's cute. It's delightful. It's also like 2 minutes long and it's over, right? Like, what is it really, like 20 minutes long or so? 20, 25 minutes? I've seen it a few times now. It's fun. It just, in the grand scheme of things, I'm going to throw out the 3-minute things as the worst of my rankings.
Yeah, I also have I Am Groot, and the more things, like you said, it's fun, it's entertaining. Definitely my kids have rewatched it to the point where I can almost like hear the stuff in the background and know exactly which episode they're watching. But it's one of those things. It's hard to put that any higher, not because it's bad quality. It's just like, okay, how can you compare it to a movie? How can you compare it to the series? It does its job. It knows the assignment. It's good, but it's just it's a victim of its own circumstance. So, number 18 for me.
Poor Groot, just
poor Groot.
He's gonna lose all these friends in the next movie. Be rated last by the Marvel Alliance hosts. That's okay.
He's gonna come after us. That's what's gonna keep us from the getting those screeners.
100%. Yeah, I'm Groot. I'm a fan. Yeah.
Yep.
Second last here at number 17, I got Black Widow. As I've said before, I think this is just like a lesser version of other movies, specifically Winter Soldier, but it also just feels like it's a little too late. And then it gave us Yelena, and I love Florence Pugh, but the good thing I know about her is we're going to see her in other stuff. So I'm not going to rank it high just because of her. I think that is one of the great things in there. I like Red Guardian, and I think ScarJo does a great job as well as Natasha, but I just think I'm always fine for just kind of the basic adventure, but it was not even that fun of a basic adventure. And I also am just very tired of the secret association or group in Marvel that's hiding, and then they defeat them, and then we're on to 2 movies later and there's another secret whatever group. It's just like it was too soon for me to get this trope again, and I just didn't like most of the stuff that went on there. So Black Widow.
You don't like that? Geez, don't go to DC then. At that point, they got like 5 or 6 secret
I'm
organizations.
It's the same thing as like the world ending. I'm fine with multiple world ending events. It's just you gotta be careful how you place them. And to me, when you go, it's in the timeline of being just after Civil War. It's like to go from Hydra in Winter Soldier and then only 2 years later in that timeline to the Widows and they're doing this and they're secretly and they killed the president. Like it's too similar to other things I think they did in that kind of time period. So I'm always down for it. Just I think it's the pacing of it,
I want it on the record. That little shot
All
at
right.
DC was not me. That was not me who said that.
It wasn't even a shot. It was just it's the truth at that point. I'm a DC lover, and they've got like 5 or 6 different secret organizations in the background.
The record shall reflect. It was not me who made that comment.
Well, Brent, go with that. Your number 17 to make your next shot.
Sure. Echoing a fair amount of what Travis said on his number 18. I've got Eternals down here at number 17. I do like the movie. I really do. But it's not as good as the majority of the rest of Phase 4, let alone the MCU as a whole, in my opinion. So no, it's down there at 18. And no, it's not last on my overall ranking. So I do have a couple movies lower than this in the tier, but if you're down in that level, it's like, no, I like you, but it's not like you're my favorite. You're not the one I'm going to throw on and rewatch like sequences of a million times or that I've seen 10, 12 times. Eternals, I think I've seen 3 or 4 times total at this point. So, for me, that's pretty low. So at least, I don't know if that's fair. Ask me in like a year if it's still that low. But overall, I only saw it twice in theaters. I only made the effort to see it twice in theaters. It's not even like I had the opportunity, and so Eternals, number 17.
All right, I will go be the different one at this point. Number 17 for me is Thor: Love and Thunder.
Whoa. Lower than I was expecting.
Yeah, the biggest reason for that is, even now watching it probably for the 3rd time, it just love Jane Foster, love what Natalie Portman does with it at that point. I just think that Thor: Love and Thunder really brought down what exactly was great about Ragnarok and doubled down a little bit too much for me with Taika. And so there were great moments in it, but not enough of those great moments can beat some of the stuff that are way above it, in my opinion. Even like things that are 2 or 3 rankings above it. Just every time I looked at it, saying, no, I'd probably watch that a little bit more than Thor: Love and Thunder. And so again, enjoyed it, but it's definitely at the bottom of it.
All right, now this is where it gets to be fun, because then there's people that have listened to me on this show before, but maybe they only listen to me on Marvel Alliance. They might not know my thoughts on other things. All in the game. I don't know.
All in the game. Love and Thunder.
I'll defend it later.
Yep.
Number 16.
I like what he says. Yes, I appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. Number 16, probably my most controversial one of the day, Miss Marvel. I've said this before. I like the family dynamic. I think Amon was great, but I think the show overall, very cookie cutter, very what I feared, like Disney Plus, and that's fine too. Not Disney, more like Disney Channel ish, and that's fine. But I don't think it was done the greatest. I think this is one of these shows that really suffered from the budget at times. There were certain times where it just stuck out as, man, we needed a little more time here for the effects, and the villains were not good. I think I don't know if I'm ever going to go back to watch this. I hope I just love the Marvels, so that's where I can watch Amon do her thing. But I know just somehow me and all the Canadians over at Geeksverse were very much in the minority. But yeah, the show didn't really do it for me, and I was disappointed with that. I didn't. I just think it's missing some stuff that I was really wanting. And I think what annoys me is I like 1 and 2 a lot, the episodes. And that's where I feel like there's something there. And there's an example of it didn't necessarily get too world ending, but I wish there's a version of that show that stayed in that 1 and 2 realm of like a small adventure with Kamala. And I think that would have been really refreshing. But I think we again got too big for whatever reason. I don't know. So number 16, Miss Marvel.
Brent, can't hear you.
Oh, okay, I thought it was my headphones.
Nope. Nope.
I was like, what happened? S-Pub says Thor went down in my rewatch.
All right, we better now?
We can hear you.
All right, I know what happened there. I've got What If down at next up, so it's number 16. I like it. It's just to me it was not very consistent. Some episodes were definitely stronger than others. Every single episode I felt like needed at least 5 more minutes. And so just with all that, that's where I'm going to have it slotted. But a lot of fun ideas. I am glad it's getting another season. Just that's, I mean, not, I don't have much more to say on What If.
You're right, Trevor. This is where it gets exciting because like we'll start separating ourselves. So mine one in this it is. I say this about my list, and you all could probably say this about your list. When you put this list within the whole MCU rankings, it doesn't appear to be that low. It doesn't. But I know, yeah. This is where I'm gonna get. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special is my number 16. Okay. And again, I really enjoyed it. It's definitely in my Christmas rotation at that point. But again, it is one of those things that it's very single serving, a little bit of growth with everything, but in the long scheme of things, it did not necessarily put it above a few others. But it just things I could go back and forth for. Some of my stuff that are above it say, why should that? Guardians is above it. It's like, well, I liked a little bit more things, but again, it's a victim, kind of like I Am Groot. It's a victim of circumstance. It is just a quick 40-minute special presentation that can do something. Did it bring a lot new to the table? No, it really didn't. It brought things back to form and gave Drax and Mantis a chance to shine at that point. But really, it didn't bring too much for me to move the needle of what I'm looking forward to with Volume 3.
There you go. Okay, this one's probably my most painful one put in here. Number 15, Moon Knight.
Thank you, all in the game.
Yeah, there you go. They're Vibe Night. Yeah, number 15 for me, Moon Knight. That pains me. People know, like, the build-up to that show was the heyday of, like, on my way out of this show and stuff. The casting, everything. Me and Chris were always talking about, I just want to know who's directing and casting. And I think there's some great stuff in there. I do have to give it, because I've watched twice, I do got to give it another watch, because I feel like I watched them close together and maybe some time away. But I just... But Oscar Isaac, fantastic. And I think there's other great things in there, but Oscar Isaac delivers a masterclass. I think it was kind of like Miss Marvel, where it kind of got a little bit messy in the middle. And again, I almost wish that stayed smaller scale as well. I get it. They had their kind of the 2 episode arcs and stuff like that. So I get what they were going for. I just think that it was kind of a hosh posh. And I think that there's some things, I don't know. There is some things, luckily, in another project, whether it be a season 2 of that character going on, that maybe I could retroactively like this one a little bit more. But yeah, this one, it's definitely, I would say, it's not my worst, but as far as MCU project, it's probably my most disappointing MCU project in Phase 4 and just the entire phase, because I was looking very forward to that and Oscar. So yeah, number 15 for me, Moon Knight. Happy to see him again soon, hopefully. So.
Well, my number 15 is Thor: Love and Thunder. I was really, really excited and hyped for this movie after Thor Ragnarok, which I think is just fantastic. And I like Love and Thunder a lot. I had a lot of fun, but I feel like it could have just gone a little farther. It needed to go a little farther. It needed 10 to 20 more minutes of runtime. Gore, he was great. They just needed to do more with him. The Mighty Thor, she was great. They needed to do more with him. I do really, really like the Guardians cameo in there. I was super happy with that, because this felt like it needed to be Thor and Mighty Thor's story. It didn't need to be Guardians and the Thor movie, right? Like, I would take one of those, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But I thought they were in a good amount before they went off to go do their own thing. That way, James Gunn gets to still do everything he wants to do with Guardians, and he really doesn't have to contend with anything that was set up or changed or whatever in Thor. It didn't do enough, and where it did go farther was on the jokes, and some of the jokes were fine, some of them were a bit much. The screaming goats, is still like
Snaggletooth and like Crack Popple, whatever they're
like what it was still like one time too many for me. So that's where I'm at.
I'm sorry, I'll still laugh at that because it's ridiculous. At the bad timing. It's still low on my list, but I'll still laugh at that. All right, my next one, number 15, is Eternals. Eternals, I applaud Marvel for doing something different out of the box than what we've seen before in what they were trying to do with it. What I think a lot of us have said, that this would have been better if this would have been a miniseries, in the sense of kind of going through some of this to build up who these Eternals are, because right now I'm looking at the rest of Phase 5 and 6, and hence one of my factor fictions was we don't hear about them again until Phase 6, because I don't see how we pull them out outside of a passing mention. But it just seems like, and I said it during the review, I think this movie will be looked at differently, but that's only going to be dependent on when they come back again, when they factor in. Could it be Guardians? Maybe. But right now, it ranks lower just because I'm not yet seeing the connection of where it's going to be going. So it might change upon a rewatch, but that's going to all depend on where they're going with them.
It's going to be interesting if that is the first project that doesn't get a sequel or follow-up or anything like that, especially we hear these things about them cutting back. It's like, if you're looking at things that you want to push forward, is Eternals 2 one of those things? You know, is that something that you want to spend the time and budget when there's other characters that might have a broader appeal? And I feel like maybe if, like, when Eternals came up, I was, oh yeah, for sure. But now I feel like you might see them as supporting characters or in other things, but I don't think a sequel now is guaranteed like it once was back in the day, you know?
Yeah.
Sure.
Agreed.
Sure. Makes sense.
Number 14, I got I Am Groot. The only reason I have it above like those other ones is because I have no like cons for I Am Groot. It's enjoyable. They knew what the assignment was. They did it. I like it. The kids like it. I enjoy it. So the other ones are just things that really nag at me. Not so much here. But so I Am Groot, 14, enjoyable watch. I hope they do more. I just hope they do more animation stuff in general. I don't like rumors of the studio having issues and stuff like that, or them maybe cutting back. So I like to see more of this. I know this is probably not the most profitable thing. Maybe in the future, like people have said, maybe make these like shorts before a Marvel movie like Pixar does. I think that would be a great idea, and then you'd have people even more so going back and watching them at home when they come out, or if they missed a movie, they'll miss that. So I hope to see more stuff like that, but if not, it was a fun little project.
Yeah, they absolutely should do shorts like that before the movie, but no, it's not profitable at all. There's no way, because nobody's buying Disney Plus to watch I Am Groot.
No, and it was really good animation too, so it wasn't just some like thrown together, even like, not saying the what if stuff's thrown together, but you can tell, okay, that's probably done in a budgetary reason. We had even heard reports that they at one point pitched it all being different animation styles, but for budgeting, they didn't do that. Groot, it looks really, really good, so I imagine it can't be the cheapest.
Yeah. So 14, right? 14, I've got She-Hulk. I overall really enjoyed this. There's a few things that I think kind of fall a little flat. I do like how they basically made internet trolls the villain. I think that's fun. But I wonder on a rewatch later down the line, when I already know all that and when I already know about the twist with Kevin and stuff, how is that going to work on a rewatch? I watch them all 2 or 3 times the week they come out, but I mean like down the line, where is that going to fall? And I'm sure someone out there is like, but that's the Daredevil show. And don't get me wrong, episode 8 of She-Hulk, like I do keep, and this might be a fun thing, but I do keep a list of like my absolute favorite stellar above the above and beyond episodes of Disney Plus. I do have some like that. Currently it's only 4 deep that I feel make that list, and the Daredevil episode is on the list. So for what it's worth, don't get me wrong, but I can't bring the entire thing with it just because that one episode I think is just nothing short of glorious.
It's pretty good, pretty good. All right, so my number 14 is Black Widow. The start of what we got with Phase 4. Our first coming back from the pandemic. Everyone in that sense is just saying, okay, what is this? The commentary is like, what the movie that everyone basically, because of all the stuff that came out with the movie at that point, does everyone know what this movie is going to be about before we even step into the theater? Should this movie have been done back before Phase 4? I think we can make arguments many times about that. But what I enjoyed about it is seeing just a little bit of background, a little bit of taste of what we didn't know about Natasha, getting an introduction to Florence Pugh, getting the a little bit of background about her family, and maybe what we thought about her, what her life was, really wasn't. CGI issues aside at that point, I really, really, really enjoyed Natasha and Yelena's relationship in that. I think that really was something unexpected of what I thought was going to be in that movie, and so that I've enjoyed on a number of rewatches.
All right, so it is up to me. So this one I started to get a little tougher, what goes where and stuff like that. But number 13, I got Hawkeye. To me, it's the tale of two shows where if you go back and repeat it, where I think the first three episodes to me were lining up to be maybe some of the best, like a top 10 MCU stuff. And then I think the show has like a big nosedive. I think they mishandled the Kingpin stuff. I think the Echo stuff was not, that's one of these things that I think that I hope to see in the future with them scaling back. That's maybe let's not put a character for the sake of let's just get to a show. Maybe just do an Echo show down the line and see how it goes. I get the idea of Marvel, they want to introduce a character and make them semi-popular, but I think they failed on Echo. I think they failed on Fisk. I think they failed a lot on the Mother and Kate Bishop dynamic. I think that back half just was very rushed. And if any of the Marvel finales feels rushed, it's that one. Even though I like the finale, it's a fun episode, but I really think they could have just stayed with Clint, Kate, and Yelena, and that's really about it. And maybe some other crime stuff, but they could have just made it simple. That's why I end up, not trying to spoil my rankings, but that's why I liked about She-Hulk was, the bad guys and stuff end up being simple. There wasn't no big reveal of, oh, it's this, and that was a big scheme. It's like, no, it was made sense the whole season, where this, I felt for 6 episodes was trying to do too much. But on a positive note, some of the best, I think if we're talking about because I know they did it with Tony and they've done it other times, even with Peter, I think the best showing of a character going through PTSD is probably what they did with Clint, I think, in the show. I thought that was really good. Haley Steinfeld is just dynamic as Kate Bishop. She comes on screen and we all know she was going to do a good job, but it's different thinking it and then seeing it. That chemistry is great. So there's things I like about the show. I haven't rewatched it yet. I probably will try to before Christmas, but I do really like it. It's definitely, I think, even for my Disney Plus shows last overall, just because, well, actually not anymore, I got Miss Marvel, but before that I just was disappointed with how the back half went. I think this could have been a better movie like they pitched, or this could have been better if we got just a couple more episodes to really kind of flesh some things out. Even with Kingpin having this big comeback, I feel like that should have been a bigger moment than it was, and it just kind of felt like a air coming out of a balloon, unfortunately. So, number 13, Hawkeye.
Number 13 for me is Miss Marvel. Iman Vellani is perfection as Kamala Khan, arguably one of the best castings there has ever been for a comic book character. The villains, not great. Basically, they would have been a solid villain for episode 3 as we're learning the powers, not for the end of the thing, for the big bad. They were mid-level boss, not final boss, and that I think is where the letdown is. And it is a little jarring upon rewatches with how the episodes, and I realize they have different directors, but how much the episode tonally switches with a couple episodes in the middle that are so radically different from the ones on either end of it.
All right, my number 13 is What If Season 1. When the concept of the show was put out there, I was like, yes, I love the What If comics. I love the ideas of it. And so they're taking the idea of making those changes in basing it around the first couple of phases of the MCU at that point. I really enjoyed just seeing what they did differently, and then the homages to the different things that did continue to exist. And that's what I look forward to every single week. Now, there were, 1 or 2 episodes that were so-so. The Thor episode, the Party Thor episode, was probably one of my least favorite at that point. But I think we all have the Doctor Strange episode, Doctor Strange Without His Heart, it was peak for that whole series, and it elevated so much. And so I am really looking forward to season 2. I applaud Disney for doing it, especially in that animation style. But it definitely is something that, as we get closer to when season 2 launches, I will definitely be rewatching that, just to, even if it's not the whole thing. I really liked how they were able to just find different things and not just be kind of cliche about it. They took their time to figure out what could be done differently, and surprised us a few times, particularly being with Fury's one big week at that point, turning it into a takedown of the Avengers, and the surprise of it being spoiler alert, Hank Pym. So.
Oh, I just remember that your guys' review when Brent was just so peeved about that Natasha didn't say it was Hank. You know, like in that big reveal, like she's just getting beat up by Hank and she's on the speaker and just never says anything. That's just stuck with me ever since then. But I love that Hank's the villain. I love that he's the villain. It's just
and that's a cool episode. It's just they set themselves up. I mean, well played, Secret Agent Natasha.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I got this at number 12. I'm obviously the highest on it, Thor: Love and Thunder. I'm higher than most people I find. Now, I feel like this has been a thing when I'm here on Twitter, when I'm on the vodka stream. People have like construed this that I love the movie and it's like one of my favorite comic book movies. And it's the top. No, it's not. It's not in the top echelon. Even the MCU, like I think it's like in the middle, lower than, I don't know, but like I like it a lot, and I like it more than Thor Ragnarok. I think there's stuff that you could argue that Thor Ragnarok is a better movie, but for me, I like that there's a bit more seriousness. I like Bale better than Hela because they don't give her much to do, and when she's doing her stuff with the Executioner and the Asgard people, not for me. At least Bale's really getting to chew up the scenery, so I like that. I agree with all your guys' criticism. Like, could have been more of this. Definitely could have been more of Jane and that dynamic. But I think when it's there, it's good. I was happy they did it, and I was happy when they did tackle the cancer storyline. It wasn't done in a jokey way. I always use the example of, to me in Thor Ragnarok, when it got serious, then it got jokey really fast. Where in Thor: Love and Thunder, when she reveals that she has cancer, they stop for like 5, 6, 10 minutes, which that's a lot in a Taika movie, but there's no jokes, there's nothing, it's just them talking, and there's just times where in Thor Ragnarok I feel they made Thor too dumb. Like my biggest example is I hate when he says, to Strange, like, why don't you just send me an email? And he's like, what's that? He's like, oh, electronic mail. And he's like, well, how would I do that? Oh, I don't know. It's just like, there's just like
that cracks me up every time.
But I hate it because he's literally just saying, send me this. Like, oh, I don't know what it is. Like, to me, there's just things where I'm the reverse, where I think Taika's humor in Thor: Love and Thunder does go way, way over, but I think there are more serious, darker moments. Again, as far as like them versus Hela, I don't think that competes with anything of them versus Gore in the black and white scene when all the colors drained and he had everyone with tentacles. Like, I don't think there's a sequence like that in Thor Ragnarok. You could maybe argue the Hulk arena, but I think that's riddled with comedy and good comedy, but it's riddled with it. So for the more serious moments, that's why I place it at 12 and above Ragnarok.
All right, number 12, I have the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Really, really had a lot of fun with this. I think it's a blast. Especially, I there's just not much to it, right? Like, there's not much there as far as like, because part of how I'm thinking of these is like, how much time am I going to get out of it on rewatches and stuff like that? And I probably will rewatch this around Christmas time every year. But it's not going to be one I just, put on just randomly to see these different sequences and stuff. Outside maybe the that first song. That first song is a banger. So Guardians of the Galaxy is where I'm going with.
There's two songs as a banger. I love the Kevin Bacon one too.
Yes.
Oh, the one at the end, you mean?
Is it Christmas time?
Yeah. No, that's a great song. Don't get me wrong. I'm just that first one.
Mm-hmm.
So
rain.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
That is. All right, my number 12, Werewolf by Night. Werewolf by Night, that trailer that came out, I was like, oh, please be as good as this trailer, because we have seen many times a movie's trailer is way better than the actual, in this case, special presentation itself. We had heard all the stuff's like, it's going to be campy, the costume's going to not look as great, and this, that, and the other. And I was like, this definitely was one of my big surprises of 2022 of how good this was. And if this is what special presentations are going to be for the MCU, yes, more of this. It made me, putting freaking Man-Thing into the MCU proper. Michael Giacchino did such a good job, tip of the hat, homaging all the 30s and 40s horror films in this, and this will definitely be on my rewatch for Halloween because it is right. Erin does not like horror movies, and just a trail alone, she says, nope, not watching this. She is never watching this, even though it is not gruesome in a way. But man, they definitely upped the level on this one. So that is my number 12. But Before we continue on our rankings, let's take our first ad break. So, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We don't get to choose what ads come on. They can be a bit loud. Give you that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. So, we are on to number 11, Travis.
Okay, I gotta address the chat for 2 things.
Uh-oh,
One, all in the game saying the black and white fight had no stakes. I don't know. That's debatable. They're fighting for their life. They're fighting for the hammer that can literally get them all the way up. And like, there's, I don't
Fighting
think that's
for the
right.
kids.
Yeah, they're fighting for the kids. That's stakes.
Someone please think of the children.
And I will say this, which Espo was saying, I don't think I'd ever choose Love and Thunder again unless it's a rewatch. Well, Ragnarok's a top 5 MCU movie. I've said this before. I still stick with this, that Ragnarok is one of my most rewatchable movies. I still think that movie is funnier than Love and Thunder. And if I had to ask, like, which one I would put on, it probably still would be Ragnarok. But as a movie, would I like a bit better? I don't know. It's kind of tough. It's in that whole like, what's better versus favorite type of category, but Ragnarok, because I just love the jokes in there and stuff. But again, then there's some stuff with Odin but talking about, Brent just brought up last time, so my 11 not falling too far behind or ahead, I guess you could say, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. I'll be watching the same thing every year. Really enjoyed it. I wish, like many other people said, that we could have got a little bit more of the Guardians together. Am I being greedy? Sure, we're going to get more of them in May, but more of just like, I like that was a Drax and Mantis special, but just even a little longer so they could interact a bit more, even a few more Peter Quill and Kevin Bacon interactions. But my cons are very minor. It's a very joyful, happy, fun time watch. The songs are great. And Kevin Bacon, the MCU, it's like, I've said this on the review, where I'm happy they did it here, because I think we all thought it was going to happen at some point. There was rumors, but in Guardians 3, it probably would have just been some kind of quick cameo. That's all you do, right? This, you got to be vital to the plot. It paid off a great joke from the first one, and I can never have enough Kevin Bacon. So yeah, I number 11, just before the top 10, is the holiday special for me.
Very nice.
All right, number 11 for me, I have Moon Knight. Another one that does have one of those top episodes for me. The 5th episode of that, where he's in the asylum, I think is just stellar. Oscar Isaac turned in a phenomenal performance in this. But you know, it does feel just a little bit like they were trying to extend it out longer than it needed to be. This is where I say they need to play with those episodes counts. Maybe this one needed 4 episodes instead of 6, but regardless, that is ultimately where I have it following. I'm eager to see where we are going to see Moon Knight again, because I don't think anyone actually believes we're not going to.
No.
Yeah. My number 11 is Hawkeye. This was I was very intrigued by, again, framing it around the holidays, but, even hearing the idea of it, is that I think they're going to be having him to deal with the idea of his PTSD, and I'm glad they took that on in a way, but they also took it around that he is a man that is trying to be the family man. He does not want to go back to this life. He's doing everything possible to stay out of this life of being a hero again. He's just got his family back. And I think that's where it shined a lot, and that's what a lot of this, we talk about this with this phase of talking about not just dealing with trauma in this phase, but identity and family, hashtag family. Mm-hmm. But like you said, Kate Bishop, Haley Steinfeld does an amazing. I cannot wait to see her return. Her interactions with Florence Pugh. Like, anytime I ever see a TikTok or just people playing that clip, I stop and I watched it, because it's just so good when they're on the screen. Yes, I agree with you Travis, on the idea of how the setup for Kingpin and what happens. Like, okay, not the best. We could have gotten maybe one more episode to make it a little more, hit a little bit harder at that point. But another surprise at that point, I don't know if we'll see Clint Barton again necessarily in as big of a role as he did have. There's always Secret Wars and maybe Hawkeye season 2, but they did so much justice by the Hawkeye comic series with it at that point. So many tips of the hat, outside of crediting the creators, what more they should be, that's a debate for another day. But I really, really enjoyed it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sneak it in before Christmas or during this time, but I really enjoyed it. So that is my number 11.
All right, we're busting the top 10, hey? So
yep.
top 10, I know I probably easily got this ranked the lowest. Shang-Chi. I really like Shang-Chi. I just think it doesn't break the barometer of being the best top tier, the A tier MCU for me. Definitely more the third act, because I've said this before, that I think when Wu goes away, the movie starts to falter really fast. And I feel like they should have kept with that more emotional arc instead of, hey, we got to have Shang-Chi fight a dragon, which is cool. I get it. Maybe it's not even called technically a dragon, whatever it is. And I just wasn't a big fan of a lot of the effects in the last one, as far as the last part. But the cast is enjoyable. It's a fun new world. Same thing. I don't know, like, I like Trevor, but I don't know if he needed to be in as much of it as he was, and he's not in that much. But like him and the whatever turkey, there's certain choices again where I go, I think there's
The
little
turkey?
things.
The turkey?
It's a turkey without a head. That's what
You
it
mean
is.
Morris?
Yeah, Morris. It's a turkey without a head with fur. That's what it is. So there's little choices for me that I think this could have went from a good movie to a great movie. But that being said, there's some sequences, some moments that are fantastic. I think specifically like in that scene where they are leaving the club and they're all getting, when we thought, what's her name? Aquafina's maybe going to die. There's some great fight scenes
Katie.
there. Yeah, Katie. I think there's great aspects of maybe not the CGI, but of Wenwu versus Shang-Chi, the final fight. So I'm somebody, though, that thinks like Destin directing Avengers movie is a fantastic choice. And I think he's going to do a great job. So I still really like Shang-Chi. I just feel like I don't like it as much as everyone else. But yeah, number 10 for me.
Okay, number 10. All right, yeah, I do have a little higher than that, but all right, we'll get there. My number 10 is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I'll just say out of the bat, I disagree with those who say this was that Wanda's turn was not at all set up. I'm like, well, then you missed.
Oh, come on.
You missed the end of WandaVision if that's what you think. In my opinion, obviously there are people who I know did not miss the end of WandaVision and hold that thought, but I disagree with them. Overall, I think this is a fun movie. It touches on some horror elements at times. It's pretty cool when he does the whole zombie Strange thing. Yeah, there's some kind of goofy stuff in there as well. Of course there is. I mean, it's Sam Raimi. He's going to do some B-level type things that he is his shtick. But overall, for me, Doctor Strange, I got it at number 10.
Have to hit my unmute button. So my number 10 is She-Hulk. And I thoroughly enjoyed She-Hulk. I was quite surprised at, again, just doing comedy for 9 episodes. They kept the kind of episode time to say, okay, now you're really trying to keep that time to that, the sitcom kind of asset. I didn't make any illusions of how much of a fan I am of Tatiana Maslany, and she really owned this character. She did such a great job. Her comedic timing was great. I thoroughly loved how on the nose they were even before the show came out with what, quote unquote, the villain of it was going to be, and going after the mansplaining, the toxic masculinity. It was a lot of fun. And then people just saying, oh my gosh, the post credits of that one of the episode with Megan Thee Stallion was breaking the internet. I was like, I'm glad it broke the internet. It made people go freaking nuts at that point. And
I do enjoy how mad that made people.
Oh yes, that's exactly.
I'll still never understand it.
It's a comedy. Again, you don't like it, stop watching it. But we all know you do because you need something to talk about. And like you said, the Daredevil episode, that was not only just getting Charlie Cox. I didn't think we were going to get until we started seeing that footage in the trailers that we were just going to get Matt Murdock in it, and that was it. Getting him in the yellow and red costume, oh my gosh, geez, that kind of made it. In the ending with literally breaking the fourth wall, man, that show surprised me a lot of times, and it definitely surprised a lot of people. So it's my number 10.
Nice. Number 9 for me is What If. I think it's kind of like what these guys have said. There is something of a mixed bag. I would love to see my ranking if the Doctor Strange episode didn't exist, but it does exist. And I think that is one of the best pieces of medium that the MCU's done, whether it's TV, live action, the shorts, whatever it may be, just that Doctor Strange episode alone. But at the same point, I can't rank it higher because it's not just a Doctor Strange alone thing either. There is mixing there. So that's why I had to have it in the top 10. I love that. And there's some fun elements. I think to me, the What If episodes are like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's still good. And not even bad. I don't think there's any bad episodes, but like even Party Thor, it's like I enjoyed it. Like I liked it. It's not the greatest thing, but like there's little episodes where okay, they're maybe not the perfect. I think maybe the lowest one for me is the Captain Carter one, just because it was just a full on rendition of the first movie, pretty much. So I hope that when we get her back, it's not that. Even though there are the rumors that it's just going to be maybe Winter Soldier with Steve. So I don't know, but I really appreciate what the show does, and I'm really a big fan of What If, and I'm excited to see it come back next year.
So I'm not really a fan of black and white, and I'm not really a fan of horror. But for some reason, Werewolf by Night really, really worked well for me. So I have it at number 9. Cracked my top 10. I loved it. I did not expect to love this as much as I did, but the trailer impressed me. The poster I think is really fun. The way it's done in that vintage old style. It even has like a little crease in it, making it look like it's older. It just Ted was fantastic. Love Ted. Really, Werewolf by Night is one of the biggest surprises to me for how much I liked it. Like, never has a Marvel project been set up for me to not like more than Werewolf by Night was. And no, I totally dug it. I'm absolutely glad they did it. I want to see more of those characters. I don't necessarily need another one in that exact style, but I'm really glad that they did this. And it is, it's the poster child for they let the directors do things they want to do. Like, this is now the poster child for that. So Werewolf by Night, number 9.
My number 9 is Miss Marvel. Aman Vellani is this show. And, what you already said is already, perfect casting at that point. But I remember saying it at the end of the series is just like the importance of this show and just like the importance of what my next number 8 is going to be is representation in the sense of what she represented, her journey on the entire season. Yes, the clandestine. Yeah, okay, terrible villains. Just they're phone it in villains at that point. Not great. But what I kept on tuning in for was her journey, is exactly what they were going to do with the character. Could she give deference to that character in being, I'm the brown girl from New Jersey that's a superhero. Like, it was the fangirl who's coming of age and learning how to, discovering of her family's lineage and understanding what can I do to make it a better place? What can I do? The mistakes I make, things like that. And it's actually seeing other people who look like Miss Marvel, look like Kamala Khan, seeing that, hey, I'm on the screen. I am represented. I don't read the comics, but I can see myself. That rings so true to so many people that represents, and so that's why I rank it a higher. Again, yes, the latter part of the episodes were a little bit rough at that point, but her character really kept me tuning in, and I look forward to seeing her in the Marvels.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be tons of fun. That's coming up next year.
Yeah, not long.
Number 8. This is when we really get into like the stuff that's just variations of great to really great to fantastic to perfect or almost perfect, stuff like that. But Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is like I liked the first episode, but thought, okay, where are we going with this? But where we ended up going with Isaiah Bradley, with Bucky, I think even there's some stuff they could have done a bit more there. I think it's kind of funny that the Marvel Cinematic Universes for Phase 1 and 2 kind of had like a villain problem. I feel like the movies really fix that with Phase 3 and 4. I feel like Disney Plus kind of suffered from that in there. If you want to look at this as like their first phase of 1 and 2 of Disney Plus shows, I think most people will look and go, yeah, the Flag Smashers weren't the greatest. And they weren't. They really weren't. But the rest of the show is fantastic. I thought Anthony Mackie had a great journey of going from getting the shield to not wanting the shield to why he needs to use the shield. You get the great costume reveal. I like the finale. And man, oh man, do I love John Walker. Not because I agree with him, just because he's one of those characters you just want to see, okay, what trouble and hijinks is this guy going to get up to? Like, what mistake is he going to do wrong? But I love in the finale that they doubled down that there's still like a good person in there. They could easily went the generic route of he's just bad and he's just a piece of crap. No, they made that like it's a series of unfortunate events, and that always makes a character more interesting. So him and Thunderbolts, my goodness, I cannot wait to see what him and Bucky get up to. But this is a really strong show. Again, I put this in the great category. I think at one point this was very close to my MCU top 10 overall. It's tough because there's been so much great stuff that comes out, but really, really good show. And this one I'll rewatch multiple times when we get projects with these characters. And I can't wait for Cat 4 either, New World Order. So.
I look forward to see what kind of if he's going to bring Discount Shield again too. You never know.
With him, the Shield.
Yeah, Discount Shield.
No,
You know,
I
when he
think
made
Val
all
will
the-
get him a new one. She's gonna get him a nice one made of adamantium, and we're good to go.
Yeah,
you know?
adamantium.
Yeah.
There we go. So my number 8, and I know Heinz likes it when I bring this up. You know, I'm not supposed to like this movie because it's a prequel and we already know the result, but that she's dead. But Black Widow, I really, really enjoyed this movie, and maybe part of it's, you know, it was that first Marvel movie back. It was that first movie that we got to go back to and see after Far From Home. You know, we hadn't. It was 563 days, I think it was, between Far From Home
The dark
and
times of Marvel
WandaVision.
Alliance.
The
But it was
dawn
even
of
it
Marvel
was-
Alliance.
Yeah, it was even longer before Black Widow, but I legitimately love this movie. I watched it several times that weekend. I actually bought it at home on Disney Plus for my wife to watch it at home. Really, she was out of town, so she could watch it. She gets home. We ended up seeing it, and then we still went and saw it again in theaters. I saw it several times. I don't mind I see the criticisms people have of them, but they just don't bother me the way they bother other people. Specifically Taskmaster. I'm like, okay, great. Like I refuse to believe that there's this massive amount of people who had this great love of this character that nobody ever talked about prior to Black Widow. Like, it was a cool character, but it was a cool design. It was a great design, but they kept the design. Like, I feel like they kept the cool parts about him. The only thing is they didn't make him like a henchman trainer that he often is depicted as. But who knows where the future will go. And yeah, sure, there's a few funky CGI things in there, but Yelena is fantastic. I think Natasha is fantastic. I really like the villain. I think the Dreykov, like the overall scale of it, like it fits Black Widow. So for me, number 8, Black Widow. I'm excited to see, you know, Thunderbolts, especially to see a couple of these characters pop back up.
All right, my number 8 is Moon Knight, and this is the reason I was quite interested to see this one was how they're going to portray his dissociative disorder. You know, what in people call a lot of times split personalities or bipolar disorder. Like it's him, the way they portrayed it, and then I was very much paying attention to the community itself, saying how they think, is the MCU going to do it justice? Do this? And then when the community of people that have to deal with this on a daily basis responded very positively to it, it was one of those moments saying, okay, they feel seen by this. It's not just a gimmick. It's not something that they're making fun of at that point. These are real. And then delving into that episode, like you had mentioned, Brent, with the asylum, looking at his past. Unfortunately, it took us that long to get to that point, but I understand why it took us that long to get to that point, because again, we're still learning exactly who he is and what he is at that point, and now being forced to say that huge stop thing. Wait a minute. Was this all in his head this entire time? The mind screw job that they gave us at that moment, saying, all right, now I'm kind of questioning it. Did this really happen? Is this the MCU saying, yep, sorry, this is all in his head. There is no Moon Knight. It's all this guy's crazy idea in the insane asylum, like a St. Elsewhere kind of moment. And so Oscar Isaac did a great job portraying the 3 personalities where we saw Jake at times. But I really look forward to seeing where he pops up, if the rumors are going to be that he's going to be popping up in a future Marvel movie. It's going to be very interesting. So Oscar Isaac will be back. Moon Knight will be back. This is not a one and done character.
There you go. Lucky number 7, She-Hulk. You guys have already talked about it, but yeah, this show took me by surprise because I was always like, I was fine for the show. Like, I was okay, do it, and I like the character enough. But I think Tatiana Maslany, I'm not sure where she is, but as far as like new performances, obviously you have, like we talked about, Yelena and Kate Bishop, but she's one of my newer favorite characters. She's, I think, maybe in my like top 10 for favorite MCU characters. She just delivered tenfold, her and the writing. I love everything they did for the show. Primarily, there's a couple like okay episodes. I don't think every joke is a home run. Like, I don't think it's like something like Thor Ragnarok with some of the stuff, or like James Gunn's Guardians, which for me is always a home run. I think some of the jokes are all right, but I think the finale is really bold, and like you guys have talked about, I think it gave us one of the best Disney Plus episodes with her and Matt. And again, I don't want Matt with anybody else. I don't like hearing any rumors of love interest. I don't care about Karen. I almost don't care about Elektra, and that's saying something, as Matt Murdock's my favorite second character in the Marvel universe. But Yeah, they did such a good job with the show. It was something different. I felt like it's one of these things that so many times the MCU is like, oh, this is something that's really different. This year, I think we got a lot of that. I think She-Hulk is one of those things, and I get why people don't like it. Not the extreme people; they are just kind of they're just losers. They gotta find life. But I can get why it's not like your cup of tea. That's fine. But for me, it was. I really enjoyed it, and I can't. That's a character I just can't wait to see what they do with her next, where she goes, and just more of her in the MCU. So
cool, makes sense. So, number 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
My number 7 and 6, they're so close they could almost flip flop back and forth. The same is true for my 4 and 5, and the same is true for my 2 and 3. So just, I guess, know that going into it. Number 7, I have Falcon and the Winter Soldier. For the announced shows prior to WandaVision starting, right? Prior to that, Falcon and Winter Soldier was unquestionably the one that I was the most excited for. The Captain America cast of characters is like my favorite group of characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so getting a whole show centered on Bucky, on Sam, and on Zemo, like, yes, please. I think that's fantastic. Ultimately, I do think it's got a couple pitfalls. Sharon as the power broker, it's fine. I don't love it. I liked her more as one of the heroes, but it's fine. The Flag Smashers, again, they're fine. It makes for some fun fight scenes, for some fun action, but ultimately they're not going to go down as memorable villains. They're not topping anybody's greatest villains list, but just the stuff it did give us, the interactions with Zemo, fantastic. The stuff with Isaiah Bradley, but above and all, the Bucky and Sam interactions for me is what makes that show. I absolutely adore that show so much because of those things. So I have it at number 7. It really, again, could kind of flip flop with 7 and 6. Just, whatever one I've most recently watched is probably the one I'll put ahead.
All right, my number 7 is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I am a huge Sam Raimi fan, and so, when Scott Derrickson, parted ways with it, I was like, and the rumor was, okay, he wanted to go a little bit harder in the horror, and then I heard, okay, then you bring in Sam Raimi. I was like, Sam Raimi cut his teeth in horror. That's like Mr. B movie. I'm gonna stretch a shoestring budget and make some of the best horror movies that the world has ever seen. I was like, okay, are we doubling down on this? But what he was able to do with this, I mean, I can almost point out differences. Okay, that's a Raimi. That whole running through the tunnel, that's Raimi. The whole kind of looking at the using the gore, but not necessarily gross out gore necessarily at that point. He's very good at scaling that back. But I also like where we see with this and the whole idea of going through this idea of where the multiverse is and just, coming back from Spider-Man No Way Home. Okay, so we see a little bit of a preview of it, but getting that whole idea of the Illuminati, getting Professor Xavier on screen, getting the fan casting of John Krasinski being Mr. Fantastic, but really understanding that the things that Strange does has consequences, and that he is not like he cannot necessarily escape certain things outside of like the ending that he goes through. I really, really enjoyed what this movie can do, in that it continued pushing us in the hinting of the direction like this is the multiverse saga. This is what it's going to start dealing with, these different parts, these different aspects. But I look forward to when I get to rewatch this again, because it's a lot of fun. It's definitely top tier in my mind. So.
There we are. So my last one before top 5, number 6 is Werewolf by Night. And that's why, honestly, like I said before, this top 8 and up, it's just like I look at all of them. I actually, I'm confident in where they all are. It's just we got so many good projects with the MCU in this phase. And that's why I'm somebody that the people that do the phase 4 is so weak. I don't subscribe to that at all. And I'm somebody like, you look at Eternals, Black Widow, like I have those low in my MCU, but some of the highs for me are absolutely high, and Werewolf by Night is one of them. Not only is it just the project, it's introducing the supernatural / horror elements so well. That's something I really like in the Marvel Universe. It's something that, if you also like that and you like video games, highly recommend Midnight Suns, because it hits on that. And I'm just very excited to get into this type of phase in the MCU of these characters. I feel like it's taking, I won't say too long. I'm just impatient, but like I know we got Blade coming, but all this type of stuff, Werewolf by Night, Man Thing, Moon Knight, stuff like that. Like I love this type of universe, and I think they did this almost the best. Maybe there's one I got a little bit higher than it, but Michael Giacchino did such a good job, and the cast did such a good job. It had such a good pulp feel, but felt outdated. Yeah, this is one that this really sold me. Obviously, holiday special. Well, I guess it was the first special, so of course it had to sell me. But this just sold me on the idea that hey, there's definitely some shows and even movies that maybe it should just be a special. And I love these rumors like a Halloween Ghost Rider one. Like, sign me up. To me, this special knocked out of the park, and it's definitely for sure a yearly watch for me. But it sometimes might be more because it's only 50 minutes. I just feel like every once in a while I'm just gonna put it on and enjoy it. So Werewolf by Night is my number 6.
So my number 6 is Hawkeye. This is one that I was looking forward to, but not like on the same level as Falcon and Winter Soldier. Honestly, not even close. But I ended up enjoying it on a very similar level. Kate Bishop, Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop, fantastic. It was nice to see Jeremy Renner finally get a project. It's interesting that at one time this was going to be a movie and they transitioned it to a TV show. Unlike Travis, I loved the Kingpin interaction. I mean that was the basically that week when we found out we had Kingpin, and then not long later we had Matt Murdock in the MCU as well with Spider-Man No Way Home. Like, that was such a fun time to bring in those characters because it's just stellar casting, And so even if it was a different version, which is technically still up to interpretation, I didn't care. I was so glad just to have the casting back. I love the Kingpin, and so having Vincent D'Onofrio in there is great. Yelena showing up, so awesome. Please give me a Yelena and Kate Bishop show. I've been saying that for a long time at this point. I've been saying that for about a year now at this point, I guess. Hawkeye, and for the record, the Tracksuit Mafia, fantastic.
Fantastic.
So that's,
trust me, bro.
Trust me, bro. That's number 6, Hawkeye.
All right. My number 6 is The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. There is so much I really enjoy about this show, and I've probably rewatched certain episodes more often than others of the Disney Plus shows because of the moments that I really am shocked that they put on screen. Mm-hmm. The real life politics they did not shy away from. Complain all the people want about it. Then guess what? This is what people African Americans have to deal with on a daily basis, let alone being a superhero in the MCU at that point. Mm-hmm. Bringing in Isaiah Bradley into the MCU and reframing what was done in the series Truth, putting it in that frame of reference at that point, that was like, oh my gosh, they're giving that moment to this idea, and the idea of they will never allow a black man to be Captain America, and I love it how we get the moment of him putting on the most comic accurate suit we have gotten in the MCU, just made no illusions of it, just saying, you know what, I'm Captain America, I'm owning this, and understanding what that represents to so many people, seeing him take that on and he's not perfect, he's not Steve Rogers. I don't need him to be Steve Rogers. I need him to bring in his baggage, his understanding of what it means to not just be a black man in America, but be a black superhero in America and what that represents. Like you said, the dynamics between him and Bucky were just a lot of fun, and it just kept on going different angles. Bringing in Zemo was, I think for what people complained about Zemo in Civil War, man, he really, outside of, his amazing dance moves at that point, I'm glad we got the Zemo cut. It brought a lot of more characterization, understanding to Zemo than we had before. It's a fun series, but like you said, John Walker, what I really enjoyed about including John Walker, discount Captain America, was what it means to be a soldier coming back from war, and what he has to deal with at that point, and what he has to live up to, and the conversations he has at that point that I really enjoyed. I think some people say, well, this is cookie cutter MCU. I think you're missing the point of a lot about this series if you just call it cookie cutter MCU at that point. There's so much deeper on that level, and I say, man, you sound like it should be number 2. No, there's things that are a lot better, but yeah, this was a very much a great Disney Plus series.
I totally neglected to bring up Io and the Dora Milaje just kicking John Walker's ass. How? Oh my gosh, so good, so good.
Yeah, I agree on the game. Episode 5 Truth, definitely top tier.
Mm-hmm. Okay, top 5 now. Number 5, this was tough because it's a murder's row, but I got Multiverse of Madness. I absolutely love this. As someone that thought the first Doctor Strange was all right, it was good. This was a massive step up for me. I love the horror vibes. I love what we did. The cameos and stuff were like great. Like I had a fun time with it, but that's not why I have it up there. Same thing people look before. That wasn't even my excitement of the movie. I was just like, hey, what is Sam Raimi gonna do with a Doctor Strange character? And he did what he does. He does, and he does it really, really well. For me, this could be higher. Where I'm not someone like, I'm somewhere in the middle of what Brent brings up. Of I get why Wanda turned. I just think in the actual movie they made it a confusing time of they wanted to have their cake and eat it too. Where sometimes they went, oh, it's Wanda's choice, and sometimes like, no, she's possessed. And I do agree that Waldron's script is just with Wanda specifically. The rest of the stuff I think works, but with Wanda, I think they did miss the boat there, and I think they couldn't pick which lane they wanted to go in. So him writing Secret Wars is going to be interesting, but I love Loki, which we'll probably talk about in a little bit here. But yes, it's such a fun time. Some of the best creative stuff, Zombie Strange, the musical notes, fights, like there's just particular moments in this that I'm going to remember forever. And it's just my favorite stuff that I love when I'm watching comic movies is this just feels like a comic book panel right now. And this has multitude of those moments. And yeah, I love it. I love the stuff that, especially I feel like it's like Thor Love and Thunder where there's so much stuff people like the musical scene that people bag on. It's like, no, that's a top tier MCU fight for me. That's so much fun. So yeah, this is it's a thrill ride movie. It's a Halloween watch for me. I'll probably watch it more than just Halloween, but yeah, it's a really, really great MCU movie, and I'm a big fan of it.
All right, number 5. This is the show that was a phenomenon unlike anything else in this, arguably in this entire phase. Nothing else was quite like what WandaVision was, and that's my number 5. No, I don't have it at the top, but again, it can flip-flop with number 4. Just the performance that both Paul Bettany and especially Elizabeth Olsen turned in for this project, it's got to be some of the best performances of the MCU, especially Elizabeth Olsen in this. Unquestionably, it's her best performance. Episode 8, previously on, that is absolutely my favorite episode of the entire Disney Plus catalog. Every single episode, I think that is the best episode there is. I nothing has touched it yet. There's been other stuff that's good, just nothing that's touched previously on. Ultimately for me, there's things I did as a whole like just a little bit more, but overall I liked them. I do understand why people have the complaints that final episode just became, standard fight, like third act fight in from a movie. I think that's a fair criticism. I kind of think it was set up to turn into that to begin with, so I wasn't surprised about it. And Catherine Hahn's Agatha she's just fun to watch, so that didn't really bother me. White Vision, or Snow Vision as you guys called him over on Geekverse, is a lot of fun as well. The Vision, the Ship of Theseus conversation, just could rewatch that all day. It's, no pun intended there, it's WandaVision. I mean, it's such a phenomenal project.
All right, my number 5 is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Seeing what we could do with bringing basically a martial arts movie into the MCU at that point was a lot of fun. The choreography, the fight choreography was something that, okay, it's not the best martial arts movie of all time, but it definitely gave some people who had never been into martial arts movies a kind of a beginner's course of what these movies can be about, especially with bringing in the idea of a controversial villain in the comics at that point, bringing kind of the truth to what the Mandarin quote unquote was in Iron Man to what the truth behind it is, and actually acknowledging that. I mean, for crying out loud, I did not think we would ever see Terrence back into the MCU, but here he is, and acknowledging what happened at that point, but bringing in a lot of the culture of what represents the an Asian martial arts movie into a Western ideal, and understanding the again, identity being a big part of the series. What Shang-Chi has to do in order to say, like, do I really want to be this person to my father, or do I want to strike on my own? Where's that balance at that point? It definitely was very interesting. I'm glad that it found a great audience for it, and I'm looking forward to see where we see Shang-Chi pop up next.
There you go. I think you'll see him pop up a bunch. Anything Destin's doing. There he is. There he is. Number 4 for me is WandaVision. I know much more to say because I think Brent hit it nail on the head. I just have to, again, amplify that. I think that Elizabeth Olsen's performance is arguably the best performance in the MCU. I think this is the definition of when people say it's different than the MCU as far as like a vibe, a tone, something like that. And I think that's why people have such a problem with the finale. I don't have even so much as a problem with the finale, but I do think it's weaker, and I think they could have found a different way to do it. I do think it falls apart a little there. So this great show doesn't have like a absolutely great finale, but that's okay. It's a fun mystery box, weird. It's just like a moment for the MCU, and I do think it's one of its crown jewels. And I don't even think I have it in the top 10 for my MCU overall rankings, but I think there's something special about it. But as On the Game brought out there, yes, the fight, but also never, ever will I ever forget about Ralph Boner. Not only was it just to me a lame reveal, it was a lame joke, and it's something that I think we've heard enough rumors that
Boner.
they're gonna retcon, and I think to me, Feige and company know when they kind of screw up, and I feel like they did that with Mandarin, what Chris was talking about with Shang-Chi, and I feel like they're going to do that again with Ralph Bohn. With the rumors we've heard, they kind of went, you know what, maybe we stumbled, and I think they did there. So I think there was some stumbles in the finale that kept this from being an all-time great MCU project, but the rest of it, home run stuff.
All right, so next up for me, number 4, right? Why do I keep losing track of where we are? I guess it is number 4. For me, that's Loki. I have Loki there. This is a project that I was interested in, but this is the one that I was like, I wonder what I'm going to feel about this. I wonder how invested am I going to feel in this version of Loki who's not the version that we've been following for the last several years? Well, it turns out a lot. I'm going to feel a lot invested in this character. I really enjoyed seeing all the different Lokis, seeing him deal with all the different timelines. Sylvie, fantastic. That final episode with He Who Remains, absolutely love that. It just all in all, if I had to pick just one to get another season of, it is probably Loki. So I'm glad that that's one. We've really only got that and What If with confirmed season 2s. So I'm really excited that this is one that we got. And yeah, we didn't get like a traditional credit scene, but we got that season 2 confirmation, and that was plenty for me. That was enough of a tease for me. So I'm really excited. We're not that far away. Probably just a few months away from seeing it. Seeing season 2 and what's going to happen there. So cannot wait.
All right. My number 4 is agreeing with Travis, WandaVision. One thing I will say is just the idea of the concept of what they did with the show, of just like the first couple, like channeling all those old decades of the best TV shows at that point, and seeing, especially watching the assembled behind the scenes look at it. And really kind of understanding like what they were trying to go for. Not only that, but the music that they did that and everything they tried to do. My gosh, I don't think we've had another. I mean, we've had far out there Easter egg shows and fan theory shows. Nothing has compared to WandaVision and the theories. I mean, for crying out loud, Mephisto confirmed was born out of this show.
Yes.
Reed Richards was coming episode 4.
I mean,
right.
the
and
one
the
that
Secret
could
10 episode. Never forget about the Secret 10 episode.
the Secret 10 episode. Yeah, Loki could probably come up there as second most, but yeah, I still think WandaVision takes it at that point with just every wild fan theory going out there at that point. So, yes, the Ralph Boner thing, not the greatest thing, but I really enjoyed week to week. Again, talking with you, Travis, this was our first show talking, looking at this, just seeing exactly what the weird things could come up next and how what they were planning to do. But yeah, this is definitely was great and still one of the best Disney Plus shows they put out there.
Even the buildup of like when we had those rumors of Evans being cast, and it's like no Scooper really knew who he was. Like, well, he could be a villain, he might be Quicksilver, all this stuff and everything like that. Right, the live edited to remove Doctor Strange cameo. There was also a really good. I don't know if remember people seeing this, that there was leaked footage of Magneto, but it was really just a really well done FX thing with Daniel Craig.
Yes,
it's legitimately really well done. Whoever did it and stuff. So, and I do hope, like, I'm always down for MCU to have some great shows, stuff like that. But I hope at some point we can get another show like this that has a mystery box element to it. I think, like you said, Loki was the closest, but it was just the closest in the extent of it was so just, it had some mystery box, but WandaVision was far and away. So I hope that we can get more of that. So
we'll take our next ad break before we get into our top three. And all right, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. Give it a 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right, top 3. What do we got, guys?
I feel like it's gonna be similar because I feel like there's a few that I haven't heard going around and stuff like that. But Wakanda Forever is my number 3rd spot, or in my number 3rd spot, whatever you want to say. It's 3rd.
The letter 3rd.
Yeah, it's the 3rd. It's number 3. It's not 2. It's not 1, but it's number 3. Maybe like Thor: Love and Thunder. I feel like in my circles, I love this movie a lot more than other people. Maybe other than barring than Kirkland Patzer. But I thought Ryan Coogler delivered under immense pressure for a multitude of reasons, controversies, COVID, and a losing of a main great, fantastic actor. And I think they still made a great story out of that. That's not just the hand wave of, well, and I always do this most of the time when I've said this with Furious 7, whatever it was. I said this with Dark Knight Rises. The way people bag on Dark Knight Rises, I still love it, but I also hand wave and go, well, that's not the movie Nolan was planning to make. I always kind of go, okay, I give them a little bit of a handicap to go, okay, this is your second best option here, but for a second best, damn, was it good. Ryan Coogler, I think, is still the best director in the MCU. I love the action sequences. I love the introduction to Namor and his people. I love Namor as a villain. Just so many, talk about comic book moments when his feet are just flying and he's going around taking ships and stuff. Like, it was great, but it was that seriousness that I think that's what I love in the MCU, where I'm always down for comedy and a good time and stuff, but there's some certain movies that they need to be this way. And I think at time past they've stumbled with that. This is one where Black Panther 1 and 2, they have like the exact right amount of comedy. I'm like a broken record like everyone else, where I think the only thing you need to cut from it is the MCU Everett Ross Val stuff. I think you could have done that somewhere else. A show, I think it didn't really fit the greatest. I get Raw was in the first one, but other than that, I don't have too many complaints. Oh, and the M'Baku thing, still dumb. Doesn't like that he's king. That's another thing, brought down some points. But other than that, great movie. And Coogler, I'm excited for Black Panther 3. I don't think he's going to direct Secret Wars because it sounds like my man is very tired, but I'm still holding out hope that Feige's just trying to convince him. They just haven't announced it yet, because, man, I would just love to see what Ryan Coogler would do with Secret Wars. But at the same time, if I get Black Panther 3 instead, that's not a bad trade. So Wakanda Forever at number 3.
My number 3 is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I adore this movie. It is so much fun. I had an absolute blast because I never failed to mention it. I was lucky enough to score an advance ticket to this a couple weeks early. The bus fight is so incredible to watch.
Yes.
The scaffolding fight, so incredible to watch. I still don't know which one I like more.
Don't forget Razor Fist. You cannot forget Razor Fist.
Right. Razor Fist. Jeez Louise.
And, even the third act stuff, I get why people are like, oh, it became a totally different movie with the dragons and stuff. But to me, it still fit the characters. It still fit the story they were telling. I didn't mind them. And the stuff with Wenwu, that is still the bulk of it. Because once Wenwu dies, there's only a couple minutes left of that fight, and then it's over. And I was absolutely just blown away by this movie. It's the one and only time I've ever rented a movie theater out was for this movie, because at that point I wasn't super sure about going to see the movies and stuff. So my wife and I just said, screw it, we're gonna rent one, and we're gonna have just people that we know share our values, let's say, come and attend the movie with us. And that was a total blast to do as well. So Shang-Chi, honestly, at this point, my only complaint is, when is he popping up next? But I'm patient. It's fine. He'll be here. It's fine.
All right. My number 3 is Black Panther Wakanda Forever as well. We've all said, or will say at that point, an impossible task at that point. So many different moments, tearing up at that point, the hitting, the gut punch in the beginning that we all knew was coming, but learning of seeing Shuri try to understand where her place is in this world, and despite fighting against it all at all odds at that point, bringing in Riri Williams as the future Ironheart at that point was great. And seeing Namor on the screen and not be a joke, that was quite impressive at that point, and very well done, very well acted. Seeing kind of the changeover and what being who these people are instead of being Atlanteans, who they are now in the MCU. That, again, this is an interesting pocket movie in the sense of it does not necessarily need the MCU, but they'll throw it in with Val and Everett Ross at that point. But like you said, not necessary. Angela Bassett is a masterclass in acting, an amazing actor. If somehow she does not win any sort of major award for her performance, and if it's just, oh, she was in Super movie, leave, get out the door, because you could literally see her acting ability, but the pain of the loss of her son, not just son in the movie, but son that she considered to be a son in real life in Chadwick Boseman. You believe it, you feel it in that moment, and that's this movie is number 3 for me.
Oh, number 2, Loki. Loki, that's one where when Brett was talking about Falcon Winter Soldier was his most anticipated. Mine was Loki, because you know what? Myself, I did not sign many petitions. Petitions are stupid, but I remember a long time ago after the Dark World, I think a little Travis, which I don't know how little I was, but I signed a petition like to get Loki his own movie on change.org and stuff like that, because I love the Loki character from comic books, and I thought Hiddleston did a perfect job. I thought there's way more with this character and the show. And I did not think we are going to get introduced to Kang, or, you know, obviously he's not Kang there, but like that was not even my feelings with the show. It's just, okay, we're going to get adventure with Loki. I think this is the best Disney Plus show by far, like start to back. I think it's up there with, like I said, the Daredevils, the Watchmen, the Legions of the best superhero live action shows that I consider like the Mount Rushmore, and this is one of them. And to me, the Disney Plus, like I think She-Hulk did it. There's some other ones that have did it all right, but I think they've had a lot of problems with their finales, as I've said, been a broken record about. Loki did not. Loki delivered, and it did that big thing where some people want to complain. I don't, as someone that's going to be watching MCU as it goes along, is the finale mattered in the grander schemes of the MCU. Like if you think about this, when we get to Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty, we first met that in like a version of that character on Disney Plus, you know? And for me as an MCU fan, that meant a lot to go, okay, these are important. It's not just, we're going to do this to get some subscribers and have a fun time, but really the big stuff, you could skip this. And I know people have that problem with Wanda or in Doctor Strange or this or that. I don't, because that's like, I'm a fan of all this stuff. And I thought Hiddleston is some of his best work. I love the multiverse stuff with the different Lokis. I love the TVA. Owen Wilson's chemistry is great. I love the stuff with, oh God, why am I forgetting her? And Sylvie. Yeah, they have such a good chemistry for being the same person. But you know what? I'm a shipper of Raylo, so I'm all for it. And one of the favorite like MCU moments is just, I would have never thought just Loki watching his life just in front of him was going to deliver the way it did. And yeah, it's so good that I very much worry for season 2, that I think, I'm not saying it's going to be bad, but it's just like, it is a very tough task to follow. And you've lost Waldron, you've lost Kate Herron. I hope they do. I'm excited, but that's just how high the first one is. And this one's high also in my overall MCU rankings. I think it's in my top 5. I big lover of Loki, so.
I have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever at number 2. I would echo all the sentiments that you guys said, and I would just add, I think this movie was needed by the community. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were grieving the loss of T'Challa, and for me, this felt like closure on grieving the loss of Chadwick Boseman as a fan of the character, as a fan of his work. And so from that standpoint, I think this movie was needed. Sure, I'll agree the Everett Ross stuff. It's like, I like it, but it's in the wrong movie. It felt like it was in the wrong place. But just to briefly touch on them, I think the M'Baku as King stuff is really interesting. That they could take that a few different fun ways. Sure, Letitia Wright, she stepped up. I know there's the controversy with her, but she absolutely stepped up and turned in a heck of a performance. Obviously, Angela Bassett. It really, I don't think there was a weak link as far as the cast goes in this movie. And of course, Namor himself, what a heck of a villain, right? Like, he is going to probably top some people's top villain list. And I get it. I get why he would. So Black Panther: Wakanda Forever for number 2.
All right, my number 2 is Loki season 1. Just the kind of idea of taking a character that basically became, what many thought could be a forgettable character, and see how far Tom Hiddleston has ridden that rise, and then thinking, oh, we're done with him in Infinity War, and then we get the scene in Endgame saying, oh no, there's one out there at that point, and running with that idea and introducing to us the idea of the multiverse in the MCU and the hinting towards a multiversal war and different theories of our, when all the time bombs went off, all the multiverse, all the timelines, the pruning of the timelines, the TVA, Mobius, my goodness, the relationship that he had at that point. We're gonna see him on that Sea-Doo at that point. Seeing Renslayer and seeing what her whole theory of her existence at that point, seeing exactly, oh my gosh, that just blew up in her face, and what is the truth for her? And like you said, bringing in the he who remains, and thinking the introduction to who the Kang is going to be. This, like you said, they do have a lot to live up to with season 2, but I think it's going to really double down on getting strange and weird and seeing exactly where we're going to go, because again, being that we're heading into this quote unquote multiverse saga, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I look forward to it. But I think we all can say exactly what our number one is, because it has been the one that no one has said yet at that point. I'm wearing this shirt. I think I'll speak for all of us, is that our number one is Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm going to give it to Brent as our resident number one spider person on here. So go for it, Brent.
When Spider-Man Far From Home finished, I was ecstatic because I thought for sure they finished. They did it. They made another deal. They extended the deal. There's absolutely no way the movie ends that way, right? And then we obviously know everything that happened there. We don't need to go through all that again. But when they did finally come back together with the deal, and rumors started happening that they might, tie into the multiverse, and this is post Into the Spider-Verse at this point. Basically, people are more familiar with the idea of multiple spider characters, and the Spider-Verse comic books have been definitely ramped up a lot. Seeing all these different characters, it's like we might get this in live action. Unreal. And you know what? Not that many characters are lucky enough to be able to do this, because not that many characters have 3-4 versions of Spider-Man of that actor still with us in an ability where they could do this. Seeing Toby back was so much fun. Seeing Andrew back was so much fun. For any complaints I've ever had about all their movies, it was never Toby. It was never Andrew. Like, they were never the problems I had with some of those movies. And I vividly remember the hype and what it was like when Spider-Man first came out. And seeing people, like, let's call them regular people, enjoy these movies the way that I was enjoying comic book stuff. Like, it was really kind of surreal to have that be the case, and to get to have this massive hype. And not to mention, Charlie Cox, right? Like, even I'm the guy that said, if I can only pick one, I'll take Spider-Man and Daredevil before I'll take all 3 Spider-Mans together. And they gave me a movie with all the Spider-Mans and still brought in Charlie Cox. It's like best of both worlds. And yeah, he's only in it for a scene, or 2 scenes in the extended edition. But I absolutely love this movie. There's so much more stuff that I could say, but I'm going to leave some of it out and let you guys have your turns. But Spider-Man No Way Home, oh my gosh, it's such a remarkable achievement.
Go ahead, Travis.
Yeah, no, I think it's just one of those that it's a fantastic film as far as for what we love in this fandom and what we want to have these moments. But the best thing is it's a great Peter Parker story, like all the way around, but more specifically with Tom Holland's one. And I think this is one of these movies that you could have Toby, Andrew, and Holland, and even if it was bad, we would all like it. But it was great to see them together. But the fact that you have them together for the fan service, but for them to, one, have all the chemistry, and for two, that to make sense story-wise and pay off with them and also the villains. There's so much that was juggled here. Maybe it's not juggling to the same extent of Endgame, but I think it's the closest any director or teams had to juggle since then. I guess you could say Infinity War, but it's kind of like a package deal, right? Like, I think that the fact that they had to juggle all this, and maybe, I guess you could also make a case for Ryan Coogler too, but I mean, for just characters wise, just script wise, what you had to do and make it work. It's movie magic. It's one of these things that's just, there's few films that we know how the sausage is made to an extent, like we hear all these rumors, stuff like that, and to still be in the theater, hear people cheer, get that excitement, see these emotions, see these reactions, and it's, I agree with that, Bubs. It's my second favorite MCU movie. It's, I can't put it just past Endgame, but it's close. It would actually
same.
it's one of those that I thought like, man, I didn't think for a while we'd get to a level of maybe being close to Endgame, and we were there. And you just have little mini stuff like William Dafoe's performance is outstanding in that. Like all of them are, but like just seeing that. So the fact that to me it's kind of like a Force Awakens where you have nostalgia, but they hit the kind of acting, the script, most of it out of the park. Like it delivered on all those fronts, and who knows what happens next. Obviously they'll be back together at some point, because you don't just put them together once. People didn't put peanut butter and chocolate together. This was good, but let's never try again. No, that's why Reese's Pieces exist, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why we got to get more of this. But yeah, outstanding film. There was no doubt in my mind it was number one. As much as I love a lot of stuff in the phase, this was it was special.
Yeah, just bringing something that we never thought was going to happen, bringing all three of those characters on the screen again. But I think, what people had complained about the Tom Holland, not necessarily him as the actor, but how Spider-Man came into be, and that, kind of being Tony's little protege and getting all this stuff kind of gifted to him in the suit and things like that. Seeing basically everything taken away from him, everyone he's ever loved, everyone he's ever cared about, and just torn apart. And that, seeing that moment when we see all three Peters on the roof and talking, that moment, just the chills I got. Like, I lost Ben, I lost Gwen, I've lost May, and understanding that is unfortunately what Peter Parker has to always deal with at that point. And then understanding that his whole world is he's going to find some way to move on, and seeing that sequence at the end of, him in his new final suit, jumping out there and going on his own, learning to find a new life at that point. That movie has so many different emotions. It's definitely one of the more depressing MCU movies at that point, but bringing in the villains, Norman Osborn, still definitely one of the best villains of Marvel ever at that point, brilliant by Willem Dafoe. But it is great, and I'm not surprised it's all our number one. So, all right, so that is our full Phase 4 breaking down of where we rank it at that point. And as promised, before we take our last ad break, before getting quick news hit and some other stuff, we do have to answer. He's been waiting for 2 weeks at that point. All in the Games question. If you had to play Kevin Feige and cut out 6 projects from the 18 that make up Phase 4 for an even 12, which 6 are you not going to greenlight, with the idea that we cannot bring the knowledge we've had seen this? So basically title, sequence, whatever at that point. Each one of you just run through your 6, and if you have something to say about why, go for it. But Travis, what are your 6?
You're waiting until next year. No, I'm joking. So I will preference this, that one of them should have, maybe these two gentlemen will have I Am Group, and that's fine if you do. I just didn't, because I felt like it was almost like a bingo, like free square. So I just left off the side because it was so little, but it really would be there. But so here's my one. Eternals, because even before Eternals was announced, like I was like, we don't need to do this right now. Like, that's what I love about having Geekverse. You go back like years of recording of like, I didn't see that, like the purpose of doing it right now. I didn't think the hype was there. I thought it was an odd choice. So Eternals, that was one. And now even after, be like, I would have been fine with that. What If is another one where it's a great concept. I like it. It's very fun. And I like that it exists. But I would go, okay, you don't necessarily need this to happen, right? Moon Knight, now you're gonna go, oh, that's because after. No, I love Moon Knight, but the thing is, that's still like, you look at how we're doing Multiverse of Madness, was it Werewolf by Night? I don't think like this had to happen right now in this phase. That's my pitch of not so much the project, just hey, Moon Knight, and it's the idea of we're doing it. It didn't connect to the greater MCU, and that's after effects. So before, I just thought you could kind of introduce Moon Knight whenever. I don't think there was it had to happen now. I was excited, and I'm happy Oscar Isaac's there, and he will play the character again, and I can't wait, because I hope it's like a Doctor Strange situation where the first one I thought, but the second one I absolutely love. There's always a chance for that, but I think it wasn't needed for this phase. Like, when you're looking at everything they announced before, I'm like, where does this fit? And that's why it ended up being just like a solo adventure, right? Next is Black Widow, for the obvious reasons, because it could have happened before, and it was a prequel, so didn't need that. And this is my most controversial one, I think, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, I love the characters, but if you look at that movie, or the show, I do think that other than stuff like John Walker and a few little things, if you watch Endgame and then you jump to Captain America 4, you don't necessarily have to watch it to get that journey. And it's the same thing with this. It's like, the fact that we were all puzzled, right? When he got the shield and then Comic-Con, they're like, oh, he's not accepting the shield and he's back to being Falcon. Everyone was like, what? And it really felt like they made that pivot just because they needed to do a show, just because they wanted content. You could realistically still jump from the journey's better now that we got Bradley and Falcon's journey, but you could still realistically jump from Endgame to just Captain America 4. And I think they could have been all right. So that's what would have been my pitch, especially you have now Bucky going to be in Thunderbolts. Like, I don't think if I'm looking at the slate before, it's like, I don't know. It's not needed. Now, I would not cut it. That's the point of All In Games question. After, I would say, oh, absolutely not. That wouldn't be one of my 6. But before, I think you could get away with it. So those are my 6.
Brent, what are your 6?
My easy ones, and yeah, I'll take the free space, is I Am Groot, What If, and Eternals. Those were the 3 easy ones to cut, yes. I thought, for me. The next 2 I struggled with, but I ultimately cut for very similar reasons. This is actually true of would be true for Eternals as well. Werewolf by Night and Moon Knight, both of them. I really don't like things with night in the name. No,
he hates Batman, ladies and gentlemen. The Dark Knight.
Never heard of them. One, they are completely cut off from everything to the larger MCU. And so if you are going to limit your things, I feel like, all things being equal, ties into everything, that's Marvel's bread and butter. And so that's going to be the difference. And then on top of that, Werewolf by Night, as much as I praise it and loved it, it is so out there that it would have been easy to say, no, we're not going to do that because we don't want to take that kind of risk. We don't want to set ourselves up like that to have, something get rejected that's so different from everything else. Moon Knight, again, I really like the show. It's just, for the reasons I've already said. The one that actually was the hardest for me is Black Widow. Like, I struggled with that one, but I couldn't come up with another one to do it. It's just, in Black Widow's case, it's not in the Infinity Saga officially, but its time is of the Infinity Saga. And we were past that. And all jokes aside about who cares about prequels, all things being equal, I will always defer to the story to the story they tell that moves the overall ball forward. And Black Widow overall didn't do that. Now, in the future, I maybe will feel differently, seeing what happens with Yelena, see what happens with Red Guardian, etc. But I can't judge it based on what I know now. I have to judge it based on what I knew before it all came out. And with that, that's where I would have dropped Black Widow.
And that's why, S-Bubs, that's a good thing with All In Games question, where that's why after the fact, if you're ask me, what 6 would you cut after, I wouldn't cut Black Widow because we got Yelena, and that was so great. But beforehand, yes, I had said Florence Pugh's the best actress in the world. Still didn't know Yelena was going to be that big, the replacement. There's at least some of us that thought Yelena might just die in this movie. Like, at the point before, it was like, oh, she's just in for one and done and she's it. So that's where it's like, yeah, after no, but yeah, now knowing that we got Yelena, it's a completely different ball game.
Yeah. All right. I will obviously take the free space as well. I Am Groot. Helps me keep other projects. I'm not above that either. Yes, Eternals, same thing. Just don't know where they fit. Wasn't like, okay, well, at least we're getting weird at that point. Same thing, Werewolf by Night. Definitely was one of those things like, okay, sure, but we don't need it. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, same thing. Don't need it. We've got Volume 3. It's unnecessary for seeing what Volume 3 would be. And then we come down to my 2 interesting ones that neither one of you have put on your lists. Hawkeye on its form, it is, and people say, well, you don't get Kate Bishop, but again, the aspect of the question, I didn't know I was going to get Kate Bishop at that point, and so Hawkeye was just like, I get why this turned from a movie to a series, but again, for right now, in the long scheme of things, it wasn't necessary. And my last one was a tough one. I went with Thor: Love and Thunder because my worry with it, I really enjoyed it. Still really enjoy Ragnarok. I was worried and was very proven right that Taika was going to get a little double down on what stuff. And, that was like, I don't know if I want another Taika Thor: Love and Thunder. I wanted maybe someone to deal with really understanding a completely loss of bringing in a new Asgard to what it was, and I don't know if Taika was going to handle it, and my theory was proven right at that point. So, but
There was a part of me that I didn't fully do it, but a part of me was tinkering with getting rid of Wakanda Forever because I just remember after Chadwick passed, I wanted really nothing to do with that movie as far as like I just was not like I eventually got excited for it, but at the beginning it's like I don't know if I need this right now. Like let's wait a little longer. Like let's just push so I almost had that on the list as far as like again after I go okay no I agree with Brent. This is what they needed. I still people that want recast. It'll happen one day. It's comic books, but I think this was right to honor this actor. So now after the fact, I know, but that was another close one. I thought there could be a version where it's like let's wait for a different phase or something like that. But
Yeah. But all right, well, we're going to take our last ad break. We got one news item and feedback, so we're going to get through this. And again, have those ads. Hope you're enjoying all those lovely lottery ads, casino ads, everything that you get for the holidays at that point. So, all right, 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right, as the holidays come up, we get a very low amount of news. This one, well, Sony gonna Sony, and Sony is going to continue doubling down on their lovely villains, but this is coming from a Hollywood Reporter as an exclusive. Donald Glover to star and produce Spider-Man movie based around the villain Hypno-Hustler. As Travis comes, he's that upset about this movie, he's gonna pop in and out.
Because like all you can see is the guy's thighs and Donald Glover's jacket.
He's just gonna keep doing. So Donald Glover is attached to star and produce this movie on the Spider-Man villain Hydra-Hustler. The news means that Glover has become the first actor to cast as 2 separate major live-action characters in a Spider-Man franchise, considering that he appeared in a brief role in Spider-Man Homecoming as Aaron Davis, a.k.a. Miles Morales' uncle. In addition, he also voiced Spider-Man Miles Morales in the Disney XD series Ultimate Spider-Man in 2015. The movie is set in their lovely Sony Pictures Spider-Man universe of characters. Hypno-Hustler, my bad. Hypno-Hustler is the leader of a band called the Mercy Killers and is described as a product of the disco music scene. Miles Murphy, son of comedian Eddie Murphy, has been tapped as the movie's writer. I'm just going to say it right now. If people are thinking, Sony's planning to eventually do their own Spider-Man that's separate from the MCU's Tom Holland at that point, I don't think so at this point. I think they're really holding on to Tom Holland and working with the MCU. Again, sometime next year, we're going to get that announcement and get that. But this just proves to me that they have absolutely no interest in bringing in a Spider-Man character outside of Madam Web at that point. That is the only thing that we're seeing of anywhere hinting close to any kind of Spider-Man coming into the Sony Amazing Spider-Man universe. Spunk. So
everything you said in that sentence, I don't like. I love Donald Glover, one of the most talented guys around.
Yes,
just everything
agreed.
From the movie universe to I just felt like after Morbius, so again, I love Donald Glover, but I don't think he can produce unless we'll see what the budget is. But I just feel like after Morbius, you would go, okay, let's be a bit more careful of what we do for the projects we greenlight here. But I feel like it was just, well, Donald wants to do it, and he's a hot commodity, and there's a great pitch. I don't know. Between this and El Muerto and Craven, I am so not looking forward to everything that they are doing right now. And again, the difference here is, I guess he's starring. Oh no, he's starring. I wish he was kind of writing, because that's been my biggest problem with the Sony universe so far. It's not that they have to do these projects. It's like, let's get some talented directors and writers behind them. And we don't. I think they're just paycheck movies. There's a chance I could see this actually never coming out as well, too. Like, it's so funny you got him as Lando. That's supposedly not happening anymore. You got him as this. I'm actually going to say, Travis told you this is never going to happen. That's my prediction. I feel like it's just something that got cooked up, and we'll see what happens in a few years from now after Craven, after Madam Web, because I think those are 2 movies that could have the same as Morbius. I really do. I think they could have similar box office runs. So that's my prediction. And for this character, I think I've seen a panel of them. I've not read them. I don't have a touchstone to tell you why this is a great choice for Donald Glover. I just think as Sony, this is just a money laundering scheme that we're going to find out years later.
Brent, what do you got?
Oh, you're muted,
Nope.
Brent. You're muted, Brent. Sony cut him off. They don't want to hear what he has to say. Oh man. Oh no, he's still gone.
Oh,
No,
nope,
see, he was
still
gonna
gone.
say something really bad, and Sony was like, "No, we're gonna stop him." No, he's probably gonna say something positive here because I know Spider-Man people, but I don't even know if Miles Murphy have. I have
All
not.
right, I got it.
There you go.
There.
My mouse was stuck in my iPad. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
That's the thing.
That's the thing.
Donald Glover. It's a waste. It feels like a waste. It's a waste of him.
He's
It's
Prowler.
a waste
He's
of.
already Prowler. It's
It's a waste of Donald Glover. That's what I think about this.
Yes.
You know, I got nothing. It's just a waste. As of right now, my thoughts are it feels like a waste of Donald Glover. It feels like a waste of Sony's time and money to make the movie, and frankly, mine to go see it. Because yeah, I'm gonna go see it, but always reserve the right. Maybe they're gonna do something that'll blow me away. Yep. But right now, it doesn't feel like that.
It just feels like why Donald Glover again. I'm glad that you're really excited about doing something like this, but man, you're so I would love to see you even take on a Spider-Man franchise. Let's do that. Let's get really. I mean, we're getting nuts with this, but I don't know if I like this kind of nuts. But like you said, if it comes out, we'll be reviewing it here on Marvel Alliance. Be their most downloaded episode just to see. Like, we're not seeing it. We want to see what these guys say.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, but that is all the news we got this week. So let us head into listener feedback at that point. I think we had a few questions besides Travis saying, "Where is this guy? Where is this bum who no one's ever heard of him before?"
Yeah, I didn't bother with that one. DC Outlaw, with the PS4, PS5 version of Peter Parker Spider-Man appearing in both the Spider-Geddon event and now across the Spider-Verse. In the upcoming sequel, do you think they'll reference Spider-Verse? So, in the Spider-Man PS5 game, is there going to be a reference to him meeting other Spider-Men?
Negative.
Yeah, no. I think that's it's a nice thing to us that play the game and enjoy the game at that point. I think that's just a no.
And if you want to can it, you can always say that Spider-Verse sometimes happens later on, like after Spider-Man 2, right? Doesn't have to have happened right now. But yeah, it's the same way people have that question about like in the live action, if Tom and Toby are there. I don't think it's going to happen either. I think this is Spider-Verse is very off to its own.
You know, I'm going to go ahead and disagree and say I wouldn't be that surprised if there was a throwaway line. There's so much dialogue and random stuff that gets said.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be at all surprised if they brought one little line mentioned. And I think, when you go the other way, you kind of got to ask yourself, have enough people play the Spider-Man game to get the reference they would put in the movie? Well, a movie like this, that's not their concern. They're trying to have as many different versions as they can. But I think if you're Sony, you can safely assume enough people playing the game have also seen the Spider-Verse movies that you could go both ways with it.
Brent sold me.
I'm going to go ahead and say
he changed me because like you could easily because I was thinking more like in a story or a cutscene. You're right. He could just be like, oh, it's like that time I met some other Spider-Man. Like that's all. Like it could be a throwaway. So you know what? You've turned me where I actually think you'll get a mention of it. Yeah, that's where I see it.
It's plausible. I'll say it's plausible, but I'm still gonna say no on that one. So
all right, negative Nancy, got it.
Yep.
And then from Josh says, I've been on a Spider-Man and Daredevil kick lately, and I've been thinking about them as a pair. It cannot be denied that they have their similarities, but I would argue they have equally as many differences, if not more. My question is, man, I really wish I had read this question before this because you added this one to our notes. My question is, what it is about these characters that makes them work together so well? I will admit it. I didn't.
Oh, come on. You can answer this and not necessarily need time.
I can't. I got it. I wish I didn't do my homework on that one, and I apologize. Okay, what is it about Spider-Man and Daredevil that makes them work so well? It's their friendship. It's the respect that they have. It's that they are tonally way more similar than a lot of people want to give you credit for. If you've only ever seen Daredevil on Netflix, you've only seen him at his worst. One, go watch She-Hulk.
Can't have me at worst if you can't have me at best.
That's right. And by worst, I mean when he's down, when he's literally getting the crap kicked out of him all the time. Go watch him on She-Hulk to see the other side of that coin when he is happy and joking, because that is who Daredevil is. Spider-Man is a lot the same way. Daredevil may lean towards the down and depressed side, where Spider-Man may lean towards the happier side, but they both will flip-flop on that coin as is, and they complement each other so well because they both have that, like, they never give up, even though they're often not the strongest one in the fight. You know, Spider-Man obviously more often than Daredevil is, but more often than not, they are fighting guys who are on their level or more powerful than them. Like, it happens all the time. And they just, not to mention, maybe it's a little on the nose, but their powers, Daredevil, Sonar, or whatever you want to call it, and Spider-Man Spider Sense, like, they can play off of those in a lot of fun ways. I don't remember the issue. And see, if I had read this question earlier when I saw you added it, I would have looked this up. There is an issue of Spider-Man, I think it's Spider-Man, where he's blind. He's been blinded. It's an older one from like the 80s, 70s, 80s, whatever. He basically works with Daredevil to get help, to use his spider sense to navigate when he can't see, and to learn how to use it in that way because it's similar to Daredevil's. I love that. It's a little different in the Ultimate Comics when they're not, similar ages, because Daredevil's an adult and Spider-Man's like 16 in the Ultimate Comics. But in general, the two of them just playing off of each other so much, it's just so much fun. We will get it one of these days. I will get that true team up. I'm desperately wanting.
A couple more years.
Yeah, I'll point to. I agree with everything you said, Brent, so I won't rehash it, but I'll point to an issue, Josh, that if you haven't read, you need to read Guardian Devil. The final issue of that arc, where Spider-Man, Peter and Spider-Man, Matt, Daredevil are talking on the roof. If you haven't read, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but good. Matt is really in a very dark place at that point for a very, very important reason. And Peter knocks some sense into him of understanding what he's gone through, what his loss has been, of not letting it define him, not letting himself beat him up about it. Because that coming from Peter Parker, the man has suffered a lot and lost a lot. And so that rings a lot true and brings a lot of credibility to that. So that is one of the reasons I say they get along so well.
God, I gotta reread that. It's been like
it's so
middle
good.
school,
and it is just to be clear, like, it's a Daredevil story.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Spider-Man's only in the one issue, but there's a lot of weight to that appearance.
Yeah, I think it's what, like you guys have said, that they share two common things: a lot of pain, because they just seem like some of the characters that go through the worst, but they just have an aspect of, Peter said this in the MCU, and it's true. I think both of them fighting for the little guy in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. Where Peter's taking care of the neighborhood, and even to the extent of not even as Daredevil, but as Matt Murdock, trying to help people of lower incomes in harder situations that are always pressed against someone big. And that's why I love that they share Kingpin as a villain lots of times. And to me, they are friendly, but I guess I've always viewed the relationship a different way, and that's why I actually like in the MCU that their age difference is going to be a little bit different, because I've always viewed it more as like a big brother, little brother relationship, I feel. Right, and I always feel like Matt is that brother, that he is the more level-headed one a bit. He's the one that gives like the better advice. He's been through a bit more, but every once in a while, Matt just needs that little brother, like you're talking about in Guardian Devil, just like for the advice, to pick you up, to kind of give you that gold star of like, you are a good man, you are a good person. And they just honestly usually have good back and forth if you got a good writer. They have a very, I feel like, straight man, like, what's the other guy? Like, there's a straight man, and what's the other one? I don't know if it's comedic relief or whatever it is, but, like your Penn and Teller. Like, not to that extent, but I feel like Daredevil is always just feeding into Spider-Man's jokes, where Spider-Man is just joking around, he's having a good time, and Matt kind of Matt has comedic quips, but I feel like he loosens up a lot around Spider-Man, and I do like that. And, I can't wait, and I do think I'm really, really hoping these Spider-Man 4 rumors are true, because I'm much like Brent and Chris, where that's just one of my favorite, and Hines, just one of my favorite dynamics. I fell in love with that once I saw that in the animated series of who's this lawyer who's representing Spider-Man, and just from there, just and other iterations, it's a very, very fun pairing. And it's fun because there's not really much like vitriol. They're never like headbutting. That's why I really love Wolverine and Spider-Man, because they just both like fucking kind of hate, like they just do not get along. Like no matter what, they cannot find the common ground, and that's also like a big brother, little brother, but the worst ways. This I love is that more loving, close, and I think if you have Holland and Cox, that is a great combo. So I'm fingers crossed we get to see it.
All right, last minute question before heading to Fact or Fictions. Will Black Panther Wakanda Forever, heading into its 7th weekend, make $37 million it needs to in the rest of its run to pass Age of Ultron's 459?
I don't think so. No, I think it make. I don't know what it did last weekend. I could see making a maybe 10, 15. Yeah, maybe another 10, 15. But like obviously the good thing is with the holidays coming up, you got Puss in Boots, but there's not many movies out until Ant-Man and the Wasp. But I think Avatar's gonna be running a lot of that game come box office time. So no, I don't think so.
No, it's not. It made a. I mean, this last weekend it made like 5 million. It's done. It's not doing 37 million. I mean, I realize that's domestic and there's worldwide numbers, but no, I'd be pretty surprised. I mean, right now it's Puss in Boots and it's Avatar. Like it's everything is those. Wakanda Forever has had its run. It's had its day. It's at 777 right now worldwide. So I think getting to 800 worldwide, very good chance of that. But a good chance, maybe not a very good one, but a good one. But no, it's not going to pass Age of Ultron, not domestic.
I agree with that. It'll pick up some money when it finally comes out on VOD and everything like that. But theatrical, no, it's pretty much done. All right, Fact or Fictions from last week before we head into Mr. Snell's. Number 1, there will be at least 10 different Spider-Man variant characters, action figures available to purchase with across the Spider-Verse. 80% said fact, 20% said fiction. I'd like to know what those 20% people who voted no said. Did you see the poster? Did you see the trailer at that point? Number 2, we will be introduced to Silk during the Spider-Verse trilogy. 83% said fact, 17% said fiction. And then number 3, by the end of Phase 7, Kevin Feige will no longer have the title Chief Creative Officer at Marvel. 59% said fact, 41% said fiction.
I'm fiction on that one because I think you want. It said by the end of Phase 7 or before Phase 7?
By the end.
Yeah, that's a tough thing because I don't think there is a universe where we don't see at least one X-Men movie produced by Kevin Feige. So that's where it all depends. If X-Men movie isn't till Phase 8, then I'd say no. If it's Phase 7, then yeah. So that's where I am on that. So. Okay, so here are mine. I looked in the movies of the future, a little bit of the next few years because we're going to the new year. So, Deadpool 3 will purposely leave the door open for more Jackman MCU appearances. So, in a way where it's very much like he doesn't die or go back to his universe, like to Logan universe. Like, it's left very open that you could see this again. Like, remember that line from No Way Home that they cut of like, hey, if you ever need us? Like, I'm saying something like that where he's left with a time travel, a multi-device, whatever it may be. It's the door is purposely left open for Jackman to appear more.
I'm gonna go fact on that one. I think it's too good of a thing not to just finally close the door on. I think they want to give everyone just a little bit of hope, and we know that hope is going to be Secret Wars.
Right. Fact for the same reasons.
I'm gonna say fiction. I don't think they're gonna because I think they're gonna see how it all plays out, and it's gonna be in Jackman's court, not his ball. I think it's happening. I think it's happening, but
you are trying to turn this into a different show, aren't you?
And I could be wrong unless Jackman's already signed on, which I think he has. I'll be devil's advocate and say fiction. He's definitely coming back, but I think they'll make you wonder a bit of like, oh, hey, that would be so good as opposed because the fourth wall movie ends with him signing a 3-movie contract. That would be great. That would be fantastic. And you play that. We love you, Kevin Feige. That'd be great. Okay. Anthony Hopkins' Odin will appear in Loki season 2. Because I know all the talk is about Thor, version of Thor, Chris Hemsworth. New footage, obviously, as always. Newly filmed footage. Yeah. Anthony Hopkins' Odin will appear in Loki. And I'm not saying it has to be our, 616 MC1. Just Anthony Hopkins as Odin will appear as Loden. I'm
a fiction on this one. I want it, but it's just like, man, that's 2 for 2 for me for 2 fictions at that point. Yeah, I want it, but I say there's more of a likelihood of Thor coming back in.
I'm so tough because it's like with Lady Sif, they like snuck her in there and we didn't know because we all thought it was for Love and Thunder. I'll have some fun. I'll say fact because maybe they play into more of Sylvie's origin and we get to see because we never saw her parents, right? And that was supposed to be a boy, Loki, right? So like I don't know what you could do. Maybe she has a different Odin, but I think it would be fun to sneak him in there for something. I don't know what, but
agreed. It would be great.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like that's the ideas they're throwing around. Maybe there's not going to be, we get Loki season 2, Secret Wars. Maybe that is the end for Hiddleston. There might not be another time to pull that trigger because I feel like Hemsworth and Hiddleston might be coming near the end of Phase 6 be done. So I'll say fact. Not a confident fact, but a fact.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm gonna go fact, mainly because I see it being a really powerful scene to have this Loki who's been through what he has apologize to Odin for his antics.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and give it a fact, but it's not very strong. It's just barely leaning that way.
All right, you two convinced me. All right, I'm changing it at that point. I like the ideas of what you're proposing at that point because I want to see it. So I'll change it on the idea of the strength behind your two. So I'll
go peer
fact.
pressure. Got it. All right.
I will gladly bow to peer pressure on this because I want it.
And my final one, I could not pick the number one because that is too easy. So I'm saying in Thunderbolts, 2 or more members will die. Because if I said 1, that'd be easy. We could see one of them biting it. But 2 or more, that's where I'm like, that's where we get, to me, trickier of like 2 or more.
You're going to get a slip knot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to go fact on that one. I say 2. I don't see more than 2, though.
Okay. Brent?
I'm looking at the announced roster right now, trying to see if I can see them dumping 2 of these people. Yeah. Okay. All right. Fact. But I think it will be 2. It won't be 3.
Yeah. It's tough because if they add someone like an Abomination and there's other members that we don't fully know, maybe I'm up there. I think I'm gonna go fiction. I think one's gonna die and one will be very, very injured, but not completely dead. It's even though, because like I could see John Walker biting.
So just partially dead.
Yeah, who knows? But I'll say fiction, but I'm not a strong fiction. I think it goes either way. So
Still has room for more.
So
and it's worth noting they're not the Suicide Squad. Like a lot of people will compare them to that, and it's an easy compare, but they're not the Suicide Squad. So it's not. You don't go into it thinking like 30% of the people have to bite it, or they're not living up to their name.
Yeah. That initial roster lasted a long time with Kurt Busiek, so it is definitely not the don't grow attached, don't get too attached. It is not. It is quite the opposite.
And just because Phase 6 is ending the multiverse thing doesn't mean we won't get a Thunderbolts 2. Like Doctor Strange had his sequel in a different saga, or saga, whatever you want to say. So it's like same thing. They may survive. Thunderbolt characters may die in different movies even, but that's why in this one. So that's my fact or fiction. There you go.
All right, we'll post those on Christmas Day. So if you need a little bit of a break on there, let your voices be heard. And we will come to Marvel Zombies Comic Book Club number 3. Basically, right now, this is a fun issue, but definitely out of the first 2 issues, my least favorite, just because it just revolved around them trying to eat and take down the Silver Surfer. Though humorous, it definitely was not, out of the first 3 issues, not my favorite.
Yeah, it's just a giant fight scene. It's a really quick read, but it is fun to watch. And the whole time, I'm just like, why isn't Silver Surfer just literally flying above them? Just go up, go into space. They're not only 1 or 2 of them are going to be able to follow you there. They're not going to be able to stand up to you. But no, he lets them basically gang up on him. Question of the utmost importance.
Yes.
Thor.
Uh-huh.
Is that his hammer that he smashed on Silver Surfer? I tried going back and looking at other issues to see if I could get a good shot of whatever him, because I guess my question is he worthy?
I don't think at this point he technically is worthy, considering all he's done at that point. I think
so.
But yeah, good question to ask. And like you said, I think it was more just, Hulk's gonna. I was more waiting for how's Hulk gonna get him. Oh yeah, biting off his head at that point. That is,
of course.
And I love that they imbibe the powers. We get the acolytes coming down. It was nice. It was a nice little thing seeing T'Challa escape with Wasp's head and Janet's head. The conversation, but I am more looking forward to the next issue. Galactus has arrived. I'm very. It's like, oh, you think you're gonna take us down at that point? Oh, we just took down Silver Surfer. Get ready for that. So
I do want to call out two moments that just made me laugh. One, Wolverine doing fastball special with Iron Man, but this time he's throwing Iron Man, or at least what's left of Iron Man. And then Spider-Man just saying that his leg that's hanging on by a thread is getting in his way and just ripping it off of him. Morbid, sure, but it still made me laugh.
Yeah, I mean, again, this was a lot of fun, just laugh out moments, but definitely lower on the tier for me right now. So, but all right, well, we have 2 more issues to do. So Brent and I have got to start talking about, since it's the listener's choice next time, we've got to start talking about our theme and choices. So we'll get those to you very, very soon. All right. So that brings us to the end of volume 143. And I just realized that Mr. Snell's got to change the title of that because it says 142 on the main.
Oh, come on. Damn.
Watch this. I can do this live. Watch this. Watch me do this live at that point.
Do it live.
Boom. Can't do it at that point. So, there we go. Got it changed. There we go. Boom.
No, we're going to do
143.
142 without me. That's why we're back
exactly.
in time. Doesn't
143.
count.
But as always, Travis, happy to have you join us. I know you'll make it up to us at times at that point.
Yes, no, it was a fun one. We went a whole 2 hours, and we only had the Funk Master as news, so that's pretty good with some good topics and stuff like that. So, no, big thank you to you guys for always holding it down. Like I said, that happened a long time ago, being comfortable in a place where I knew Marvel Alliance was fine, but I know I can miss these old months that you guys are just holding the boat down, making these great shows. People are enjoying it, and I always
holding the boat down.
Holding the boat
it's
down.
sinking then.
Yeah, I guess so. But no, I appreciate it, and I'm going to try my best in the year to get back to my once a month at least average. Like I said, it's been crazy. I switched jobs. 3 kids on the run, stuff like that, but New Year should be quiet down and my chance to be working from home. So but no, a big thank you to everyone that listened to the show, and a Merry Christmas to everybody as well, because when you'll be hearing this, it's a couple days from there. So everyone stay safe for the holidays, eat food, watch movies, whether you're family, even if you're alone. If you live alone, your family lives away, stuff your face in, go get some stuff, watch some movies, play some games, have a good time, drink as much eggnog as possible. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Brent.
That feels risky. Yeah, I'm Brent Tech Prime. You know where to find me: Twitter, TikTok, whatever. Yes, I thank you, Travis, for finally fitting us into your busy schedule.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that good stuff. Be either enjoy the time with your family or look forward to when those obligations are done. You can go back home to your own little solitude, if you will. Whatever is appropriate for your situation.
Exactly. Happy holidays, happy Christmas, happy Boxing Day, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, everything, all the holidays at that point. Yes, you can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balgid. Follow my other show, World's Finest True Believers, at Finest Believers. Got a new episode dropping Christmas Day, so check that out. You can follow this show on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions, fact or fictions, all that jazz. Continue to rate and review Marvel Alliance solo feed, GUA network feed on Amazon, Apple, Spotify, all the podcatchers of choice. We greatly appreciate it. And we want to thank OPB for being our sponsor. And as always, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us in the chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, post credits. Well, we cannot have Travis without talking a little bit of Deadpool 3, since he's now fully convinced that it really is rated R. At this point.
have, yeah. You guys said that a few times. Maybe because I haven't made my public statement, but yes, once you got Jackman on board, to me, there was no turning back. That would have been the time to say, hey, we got Jackman, but we're going to change it up a little bit. They said Jackman, they said rated R. Sean Levy said a bunch of times, if they were not to go through with it now, I think it would be like a big scratch on Feige's record, as far as he could have done it PG-13, but now there's been so much promise of it. That's really okay. You're too far in now, So, but I do think it's rated R, and I do think it's happening. So
yes.
I'm on the boat.
Well, this one's kind of leading towards the story coming from the direct at that point, coming from a radio show. Radio podcast looking at Radio Andy on Sirius XM. Hugh Jackman confirms Deadpool 3 will use time travel device. He says, but I just put aside and I was like, no, I'm done. And then we made Logan. I was super happy with it, but all because of this device they have in the Marvel world of moving around timelines. Now we can go back because, it's science. And so I don't have to screw with Logan timeline, which is important to me. And I think he probably are a focus of fans. So I think he just basically really confirmed the TVA are in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think he confirmed a lot. I think he confirmed that. I think, whatever I want to think about my fact or fiction, he confirmed that. I think he'll be around for more. Just because I know that's a lot from just a statement. It's just like, you will never get to a point where you're ruining Logan. And I think that after all these multiverse movies, No Way Home, and I honestly do think, I would not put it past to him not seeing all the success No Way Home had and think, you know what? I could do that. Like I can have, and I'm not saying it's gonna be the same level of the film or the money, but just like that rush of people being excited to see you back as that character, knowing like, hey, you could just play a different Wolverine. People like you had that version. Connery did it and come back as played like a Bond, but not really Bond because they didn't exactly have the rights, but he still was Bond. Like. It's at the end of the day, it's like comic runs, it's character runs. Logan still exists. It's still there. It's the end of that character's run. It's the same way as like, just because Scott Snyder has this great Batman run and the next character picks up doesn't mean, well, Court of Owls, that's sure ruined now because of who came in. It's like, no, like that was the end of that writer. And that's where I look at Hugh Jackman. He's like the writer and Wolverine is the character. And that was the end of that run. Now he's got a new run. So I'm completely fine with it. As Logan to me being like a crown jewel of Marvel. So.
Yeah, people are going to cheer for Jackman when he first appears the way they did for Maguire and Garfield. Absolutely. That is going to happen. He is on that level. And I can't wait. But I love that he basically admitted that, like, he basically says, I was watching the first Deadpool and was like, crap, I should have done something here. So it's like, yes, we're getting their chance. The TVA, perfect device to do this. I don't know. I mean, what else is there to say? Like, I'm with you. I don't think they're going to ruin, or I don't even think they can ruin Logan for the people who love that show, or that movie. It's still there for you. That version is fine, unless they like come back and have him like clawing his way out of the dirt and stuff. Yeah. Then that movie is still there as is. So as long as they don't do that, which for the record I would probably find funny, but they shouldn't do, then everybody's good.
No, it would be a great spoof if the movie opened with that on the grave and someone claws up, but it's just Deadpool spoofing it, like making every fan thinking, oh my God, they're about to ruin the ending of Logan, but it's really not. They're just having like some fun with it and stuff. So yeah, it's there. It's all good. And it's just like, have some fun. You only get to do this once in your life and stuff like that. It's like, it's there. Deadpool's there. And then I know, Chris, you're going to go, but the question I was going to also lead to you, Chris. When they talk about this time travel stuff, do you think it's like, hey, we go and pluck Hugh Jackman out from the X1 movie and this is his like Loki and Endgame, his new universe? Or do you think it's a full on like all the different Lokis where this is a fully different, had no experience whatsoever as far as those Fox X-Men one. He has the costume. Like, do you think it gets plucked or it's a completely
Please
new
have
version?
the costume. Please.
Yes, I think it's going to be the costume at that point. I think it's the Hugh Jackman. I think it's the Logan that we have known. And I don't think it's a different one. It will cheapen it if it's not.
So he's plucked from one of the movie timelines, you think?
He is plucked from. He's plucked in a part of the timeline that we have not seen, or we've just kind of got referenced in Logan. It's going to be the same one. It's not going to be a different one because that just kind of.
And then he just returns back. At the end
it just returns back at that point. But again, he says, if I'm going to go out and prune these timelines for you, Mr. TVA, Mr. Mobius, at that point, I'm going to need a buddy. And what better way than a man who does what he does best at that point, wiping people out. Let's go prune some Fox timelines.
Yeah, you guys are on that one. I think I'm still maybe the reverse, where I think they might be after Deadpool, and I think it might be the idea
I'll
of
take
them
it too.
pruning other things, and he's on his way out of there. And that's
you mean you think they're not happy with what he did to the timeline at the end of the
that's
season?
what I mean, right? Like, I feel like, and then how to escape them? He's jumping through all these other timelines, and I could see him literally bumping into Logan and bringing Logan with him, like accidentally on this. Like, yes. Logan just wants to get back. Like, planes, trains, and automobiles with Hugh Jackman as Steve Martin and Deadpool as John Candy, and Jackman just wants to get back to his timeline, but Deadpool's like, no, we can have all this fun, and remember we know each other from X-Men Horror. Like, it's gonna be a good time, and that I'm I'm torn on the plucky or not, because I feel like if they take him from a different multiverse, that leaves it more open for him to appear more. Because then it's like, okay, how many times did he go back? Like he got plucked from Deadpool and then went back, got plucked for Secret Wars, went back, and then he still goes and has the Logan ending. Like that's kind of weird to think. Okay, in Logan, he's maybe been through Secret Wars and Deadpool, so it's like that's where I actually think you might get this is a different Wolverine, but he's pretty much the same. It's kind of like, let's say in X-Men 2000, he took a left instead of right, and the movie's pretty much similar, but there's like a few differences, stuff like that. But again, at the end of the day, I don't really care because we're getting them together. So,
yep. So, all right. Well, we will see you all next week. Again, happy holidays, everyone. We will be with you as we march towards the new year. All right. Later.